Hello. If anyone can hear me, welcome to the stream. If anyone's watching right now, just let me know how the volume sounds. It should be the same as normal, but I always like to check. Hello, Al. Thanks for being here. We're getting started a little bit early just because I want to make sure all the settings sound right. Also, since we're going to be watching some videos, I wanted to test those real quick before we jump straight into it. But hello, everyone. Hello, Nothing. Hello, Sandra. I think that's how you say it. Sandra Eid. Hello, Guilty Angel. Thank you all for being here. I'm gonna play a quick video, and you tell me how the volume sounds. I'm just gonna play. Let's play Nikki Deuce.
Alright, you guys can see the release date of this video. It's basically become an April Fool's tradition on my channel.
How does the audio sound
a tangentially related piece of Sopranos media
on this video that I'm playing right now? Can you guys hear the video playing in the back? Like, can you hear the Nikki Deuce video playing? I paused it, but let me play it again.
Alright, you guys can see the release date of this video. It's basically become an April Fool's tradition on my channel at this point that I review a tangentially related piece of Sopranos media. That way, if people don't like it, I can just write it off as a joke.
Can you guys let me know if this is sounding good?
This guy ever stop breaking balls?
Today we're going to be looking at quite possibly one of the weirdest things Nickelodeon has ever done. Besides all the other weird stuff, of course.
Okay. So that works fine. Alright, sounds good. Cool. Alright, so that's what I just wanted to test out before we jump straight into it, that you guys could actually hear it. Because I've never done, like, reaction stuff before, so I just wanted to make sure it was coming clear. I can always adjust the audio settings when we get into it if it's an issue. Plus, each video is a little bit different, so I might have to mess with it, but we'll just see how it goes. Hello, Davey. Thank you for being here. Are you the guy who's always posting about snowfall in the Discord? I don't know, man. We'll see. Maybe one day. Hey, Buggo. Hey, Ori. I'm doing good, man. Thank you for being here. I'm excited to be doing this. Oh, hey, David Smith from Ireland. Berlin asks, recommend me some best shows. Done with Breaking Bad, Sopranos, Better Call Saul. It would either be The Wire, Mad Men, or Boardwalk Empire. One of those three should be the next shows you check out. New subscriber and admirer, fellow aspiring podcaster, love your work. Well, thank you, Progressive Patriot. Welcome to the crew, as I always tell everyone. I think we'll go ahead and get started here because it's about 12 o'clock. But welcome everyone to the stream. Hopefully some more people pop in here, but again, I'm not sure how appealing this is to everyone. But the reason I'm doing this is it's officially the 3-year anniversary of my channel. I think it was last week was when the channel was created, and I think this upcoming Wednesday, the 24th. Is it the 24th? Let me see. Yeah, Wednesday the 24th is when I released my first video. It's a review of the classic film noir, The Killers, which we're going to be watching here. But I've officially been doing this for 3 years now, and I wanted to take a look back at some of my older videos. You know, I haven't really watched them since they came out, and I just wanted to kind of see, you know, how far have we come? You know, what was the quality like back then? How is it compared to now? I know I made a lot of mistakes with a lot of my earlier videos, but even still, I thought it'd be fun to react to some of my old stuff, talk about like what went into making the videos, my thought process behind them, and that just might be interesting for some of you to kind of hear some of that stuff. And I'd love to hear your thoughts too as we watch each of these videos about like, hey, what'd you think about this? Or maybe you've never even seen some of these older videos. But I have a list here on my second monitor of about maybe 6 or 7 key videos that I think represent key moments in the channel's history. But if you guys also want to see me react to some other specific videos that I've done, feel free to call it out in the chat, and maybe we'll, if enough people want to see a specific video, we can talk about it. Now, this is my first time doing any kind of like reactions to videos on YouTube, so I'm hoping there's not gonna be any kind of issue with like copyright or whatever. These videos all are fine. I don't think they ever got like copyright striked, so hopefully the stream won't suffer any issues, but I don't know, you never know. But we'll just play it by ear. I also have a couple of ways of like maybe addressing that. I have like a PNG I can put kind of over the screen, which will kind of opaque the video, kind of mask it a little bit, but we'll just see how it goes. So let's just jump into the videos here, because we've got about like 2 hours worth of videos to hopefully watch today, and we'll go ahead and get started. So first up, we're gonna watch the first video I ever made called The Killers. It's a classic film noir. Let me switch to my browser screen here. It says 2 years ago, but I think, yeah, once it hits the 24th, it'll be 3 years. But yeah, this is the first video I ever released on this channel, back when nobody was watching, right? I got like maybe 2 or 3 legitimate views on this thing. And then the channel took off later when we got to doing the Sopranos stuff, which we'll talk about. But let's just go ahead and jump in, and I'll pause here and there to talk about it. Yeah.
Town of Get ready, bright boys, because tonight we'll be reviewing some pure Kino, the 1946 classic film noir, The Killers. Directed by Robert...
Let me know how the volume goes. I'm gonna turn it up a little bit, but if it's too loud, just let me know.
Mack with Burt Lancaster and the lovely Ava Gardner in the lead roles. The Killers is a tale of tragic love and inescapable betrayal. This film is also an adaptation of the Ernest Hemingway short story of the same name. Well, sort of. We'll get to that later.
I really don't like how I
this
voiced
is
a lot of these
The
old
Killers.
videos. It was like I was whispering when I did the voiceover. I love this movie.
The film opens with a pair of shady men arriving in the small town of Brentwood. They enter a diner, and from their hostile interactions,
The music's
with the
probably a
owner,
little too
you
loud,
immediately
too,
feel
for
the
the
tension start
voiceover.
to rise. They then take everyone in the diner hostage, as they reveal that they are there to kill a man known as the Swede, played by Burt Lancaster, who works in a gas station across the street. When he doesn't show, they take off, and one of the hostages runs off to warn the Swede that there are men trying to kill him. However, he doesn't seem to care if he lives or dies, as he made a mistake in the past, and now there's nothing for him to do about it. Later, the killers find him in his room and shoot him, and from there, the rest of the movie is an investigation to figure out who he was and why he was killed. We then follow Jim Reardon, played by Edmund O'Brien, an insurance investigator tracking down the payout of the Swede's life insurance policy. He interviews several people who knew the Swede, including his former friend and now police officer, Sam Lubinsky.
This guy should have been the main character of the movie. I always thought it was kind of weird that the investigation into who killed this guy is being done by like an insurance investigator. It's just kind of weird. It's like Double Indemnity.
Police officer, Sam Lubinsky. From them, he learns that the Swede was once a promising boxer, but after losing his career and being seduced by the beautiful Kitty Collins, played by Ava Gardner, he gets pulled into a life
Very
of crime
pretty
for her. This culminates with him joining a crew to heist $250,000 from the payroll of a hat factory. The heist is successful, but the Swede betrays the group and takes the money for himself and Kitty, after learning from her that the group was planning on betraying him and taking his share. However, it's revealed that Kitty lied and set him up so that she could steal all the money for herself and her lover, and leaves the Swede stranded and penniless, which is where we found him at the beginning of the film.
Yeah, this is just some
The
like
investigation
royalty-free
culminates with a
music that I
plot to
found
draw out
online.
the truth.
It's way too
And after a
loud.
shootout with the killers and the rest of the crew, Kitty's lies are revealed and justice is served to her. Reardon closes the case, and we cut to credits. I was first introduced to this film by my screenwriting professor, who showed us the intro scene as an example of creating tension through subtle dialogue.
Yeah, this is true. So funny because George, you just asked if I'd ever thought about writing or acting. I took a screenwriting class in college, and my professor, who was a screenwriter, showed us the intro of this movie as like a great way to set like tension with just, you know, without expository dialogue about like what's happening. It's just kind of like it just throws you into the action, and that was my inspiration for doing this video when I was starting the channel. I thought back to that and I was like, well, we should review the entire movie. And I just thought when I originally created the channel, I thought that my niche was going to be reviewing classic films, because I was like, well, you know, there's a million YouTubers who do like they review Star Wars or the newest Marvel, you know, whatever bullshit. And I was like, well, I'll stand out by reviewing old movies, which I like a lot more than newer movies anyway. And so you can see that with the progression of my videos when I was just getting started. First, I did The Killers, this video. Then I did Bridge Over the River Kwai. No, sorry. The next one was Fall of the Roman Empire, another classic film. Then I did Bridge Over the River Kwai. Then I did Kiki's Delivery Service, which was an anime movie, but I was like, well, like, I just started getting into Ghibli at that time, Studio Ghibli, and I wanted to do an anime movie. Yeah, that was gonna be my niche at first, was doing old weird movies, you know.
The way the killers keep calling the owner Bright Boy sarcastically creates this incredible sense of danger. Despite
Oh, when I first started doing this, I had a little bit at the beginning of the videos where I was like, I don't know, I tried to make the intro a little cute, like at the beginning here. Look at this.
Get ready, Bright Boys, because tonight we'll be reviewing some pure Kino.
So, by the way, that's where the title of my channel came from, Pure Kino. I was like, you know, you guys know the meme of Pure Kino, where it's like it describes like a really good movie, but I use that Bright Boys line, which is what these guys keep calling this guy. They call him like, hey, look at Bright Boy over here, you know, like classic, you know, kind of film noir stuff. And I was like, that was gonna be my intro every single time I did the video. I would say tonight we're gonna be reviewing some Pure Kino, because all these movies are, you know, pure Kino. I'm gonna jump ahead here to Fall of the Roman Empire. I did the same thing. This is my second video I did,
but it got wrong. Fathers of Rome, Caesar hath commanded me to bring him some pure Kino. In small triumph, I present the 1964 historical epic film, The Fall of the Roman Empire.
So you guys can see that, like, that was going to be my, like, shtick at the beginning of each video. I'd be like, I would do an intro in the style of whatever the video I was doing was. So this one I was playing into that whole kind of ancient Roman dialogue here. But yeah, so that the beginning of my YouTube career was all about this old school kind of stuff. Let's just watch the intro for this video too. I don't want to go through the whole thing here. I don't know if it's that interesting, but there's another funny line I think I have in here.
Directed by Anthony Mann and starring some of the best actors of the generation, this film portrays the beginning of the end for one of the greatest empires the world has ever seen, and how it succumbed to greed, corruption, and madness. Capturing the glory of Rome at its apex, this is one of the largest and grandest epic films ever made. The scale of these old movies can't be matched by modern ones, especially when you consider that all of this was done with real actors and sets. Digital effects are for barbarian savages, after all. For all you true Romans, this is The Fall of the Roman Empire.
I really like how I layered in the music.
The film opens with a narration.
If you notice in the first one I just had that kind of stock music playing over the entire video. because I didn't really understand how to like layer music through a video and how to like adjust the volume and everything. So I just had one track playing through the whole thing. But in this one, I was actually able to incorporate my intro to end with the music kind of crescending. It was actually a pretty cool moment for me learning how to like edit that kind of stuff. Yeah, this was the second video I ever did. And it seemed this is one I remember I first got a comment. I think this guy, Jeremy Elkington, which I don't know if he's still around watching the videos or not, but I think this was genuinely one of the first real comments I ever got. I got some like bot comments, you know, like trying to get me to sign up for like a sex website or something. Those spam comments that go to all the videos. Like I got those, but this is one of the first ones I remember someone being like, "Oh yeah, great video," and I was super fucking excited about that. What else do we have here? I think we should probably move on to the Sopranos videos. So, my first video I ever did about the Sopranos was Dicky Moltisanti. So, this was before the movie had come out. I was just making a video about like everything we know about who Dicky is, all this kind of stuff, and this was the video that really blew up. I had a video about Community, like the NBC series Community, that had gotten like a few thousand views, which was really cool too. I was like, that blew me away because my older videos got maybe 10 to 100 views a video. But this one, man, when I released the Dicky video, I got like 10,000 views in the first day. It was fucking wild. I remember like just being blown away by that. Now that's kind of par for the course for some of my Sopranos videos, but man, this was an exciting moment. So let's watch the entirety of this one because I think you guys are kind of more interested in the Sopranos videos anyway. Oh, by the way, this little intro here, I started doing this like 3 or 4 videos into my channel. I put it here because I was worried that people were gonna complain that I was spoiling the plots of some of these movies and stuff, even though they're all old. So I put this intro in here, and I had like the little film grain effect for, you know, aesthetics. But I always put this in here at the beginning of every single one of my videos. It says spoilers ahead in the very first frame of the video. And I love it when people comment like, "Dude, you spoiled blah blah blah." And I'm like, Did you see? I love pointing that out to people. I love when they complain about, "Oh, you spoiled this or whatever." I'm like, "Did you watch the intro? Did you watch my little thing at the beginning that literally in the first frame says I'm going to be spoiling shit." So, you're warned ahead of time. So, yeah, this is the one where we talk about Dicky and everything we come to expect. And again, this is before the movie had come out, so all of this was just information I was able to draw from the show itself. And yeah, Aaron Patton just said that this is how a lot of people discovered me. This is the first thing that kind of like brought me to Sopranos fans' attention.
If you're a Sopranos fan like me, I'm sure you're excited about the upcoming prequel movie titled The Many Saints of Newark. Set during the historic 1967 race riots in Newark, the film will star a lot of familiar characters, including Johnny Boy, Junior, Livia, and even a young Tony Soprano, played by Jim Gandolfini's real-life son, Michael. But the movie is almost certainly going to revolve around Dicky Moltisanti, Christopher's father who died before the series started. The name Moltisanti means many saints in Italian, after all. In terms of a prequel, Christopher's father is a great character to base the movie on, since we actually know very little about him. This will give the writers a lot of room to develop a great story, and I can't wait to see the movie next March. While we wait, I thought I'd go over what we know about Dicky from The Sopranos, and what we can expect to see from the film. Now remember, none of this is spoilers. I don't know any details from the movie. This is my own opinion based on what we already know from the show.
When I say it's not spoilers, I meant it's not spoilers for The Many Saints because again, I had no knowledge of what the actual plot was going to be. This is just information from the show. But you could say it's spoilers for the Sopranos show itself.
All right?
Why don't you stick to what you know and leave your opinions wherever the fuck?
Ugh, fine.
Again, you can see that I had kind of, at this point, started to incorporate jokes into my editing rather than just reading straight through. Like, try to break it up with, like, bits here and there, put in quotes, put in other stuff. And I found that just kind of makes the video more engaging overall.
Richard Moltisanti, nicknamed Dickie, was the wife of Joanne Blundetto.
Okay, so this is I have literally gotten so many fucking comments. In fact, we can probably just go down here and look. I swear one of the top comments has to be about this. Yeah, laugh all you want about the wife mistake. This is a solid shot at the Moltisanti background. Nicely done. So this was complimentary, but yes, literally everyone on Earth was commenting like, he's the wife of Joanne Blundetto? Like, no, I just fucked it up. I was trying to say he was the husband of Joanne, or Joanne was his wife. I just kind of fucked that line up.
And father to Christopher. He was also a cousin of Carmela DeAngelis, who grew up around him and saw him with his mistresses.
Carmela, who the fuck did you think I was when you married me, huh? You knew my father. You grew up around Dickie Moltisanti and your Uncle Eddie. Where do you get off acting all surprised and miffed when there were women on the side?
Dickie was also an older brother figure to Tony.
Right, see, Chrissy's not Tony's nephew. Chrissy's Carmela's cousin. She was first cousin to Dickie Moltisanti, Chrissy's dad. But he was always kind of like a big brother to Tony, Dickie. So Tony calls Chrissy his nephew. It's an Italian thing.
Okay.
Based on Tony's statements, we can be sure that the film will delve into their relationship.
I was right about that too. It was pretty much all about Tony and Dickie's relationship.
His dad, Dickie, was like me to him.
A mentor.
Yeah, but more than that, a friend. A fucking guy you could look up to. And the hope is that you pass that shit down. The respect and the love.
Dickie,
I thought it would have been interesting if in the Many Saints we had Dickie kind of be a negative, be like a positive figure to Tony, but also like a negative figure in the sense that he like maybe takes advantage of Tony or does something bad to him, to kind of mirror the way that Tony treats Christopher. Because Tony, you know, tries to bring Christopher along, tries to push him up, but he also like fucks him over a lot too. It's like a very like toxic relationship. I always thought it would have been interesting in the Many Saints if we had seen that with Dickie and Tony, but then again, of course, you know, the age when Tony's actually, when Dickie supposedly dies, Tony's a little young to have been really involved like that, so it kind of makes sense that they didn't go that route.
He was a soldier in the Soprano crew, serving under Tony's father, Johnny Boy. Tony describes him as a stand-up guy, loyal and well-respected as a legend. One of his accomplishments was single-handedly taking on a crew from New England.
You know, your father was like a mentor to me.
Right.
Stand up? You ask anybody. Your old man was a legend. He single-handed hunted down our New England crew.
That would have been cool to
Brought the
see in
war
the
home to
movie.
them up there.
Wish we had seen that.
Now, it's not clear if this is canon or not, but in the script for the Season 4 episode, For All Debts Public and Private, there are some lines of dialogue about Dickie that didn't make it into the final scene. Tony describes Dickie as a klutz, and says that he had the chance to get made, but turned it down because he felt he didn't have the brains.
Now this is interesting. I didn't do this too much when I did my Soprano logs, but when I was researching this stuff, I found some of the scripts online. Some of them have been like leaked and stuff like that. And you'll see lines of dialogue and stuff and scenes that didn't make it into the final version of the show. This is a great example. So in the script, they specifically point out that Dickie was not made. Now, some people have said that, like, oh, if he's a soldier, he must have been made. I don't know if like, you can say that about the real mafia. I don't know if that's necessarily true in the context of the show, because the show, again, gets a lot of stuff presumably wrong about the mafia. So it's not clear to me whether Dickie was made or not. Yeah, like, why would, like, it's a question of why would they include these lines of dialogue here if whether he was made or not was not going to be a significant plot point. Now, again, some people said that because they cut it or they didn't film it or whatever, then it doesn't count. But I do think it's an interesting question of what were they thinking about with Dickie here, especially given the context of this episode, which is why was his killer allowed to just go free all these years? Well, maybe it's because he wasn't made, Dickie, or maybe, like I said, the family had something to do with it, which we do see in The Many Saints. So, anyway, just an interesting bit of background detail there.
Like I said, it's not clear if these lines were cut for time or because they changed Dickie's background. But if it is true, we may see some of this play out in The Many Saints.
No,
Dickie served in the Navy during the Vietnam War
we won't see that
and
play
also
out.
served jail time.
What's that on the table? Daddy's Navy picture?
You ever miss him?
He was in prison? Or since he's been dead?
We don't get any kind of references to him being in jail or him being in the military in The Many Saints either. It's kind of weird.
Tony mentions that Dickie's cellmate in prison was stabbed to death by Jilly Ruffalo, and when Dickie got out of prison, he gouged Jilly's eye out in revenge.
Jilly and your old man were in the can together. Jilly stabbed your old man's cellmate to death. So when your old man got paroled, he tracked down Jilly. Took out his eye so bad he couldn't even put a glass one in. Loyal, your old man.
That's what I heard. Some guy's eye.
This action was apparently what led to his death. In the mid-1970s, Dickie was shot outside his home while carrying some TV trays.
Yeah, we'll talk about this
was only a baby at this
in a little bit. We're going to talk more about it. In
They
this
hit my
section.
dad right outside my house, right? He's bringing home a crib for me?
Yeah. Oh, no, he, was outside the house, but he wasn't carrying a crib. He had a bunch of TV trays. Could have been a crib just as easily.
Tony...
That's a funny line of dialogue that Tony has where he's like, it could have been a crib just as easily. Tony does this a lot through the show. I saw someone commented one time that Tony has, I think they called it circular reasoning, where he's like, because it's possible, like it's theoretically possible that a situation could have gone a different way, it's okay to treat it as if it did go that way. Like a great example of that line is when Valentina sets herself on fire cooking him dinner. And he breaks up with her. She's like, "You piece of shit! Like I burned myself. I was cooking you dinner." And then Tony's like, "You could have just as easily have been cooking yourself dinner." Like Tony has this like reasoning where it's like he doesn't have to feel guilty that she burned himself cooking him dinner because it was possible that she could have burned herself in a future time cooking herself dinner. He I don't know. It's a funny way he has of thinking. It's very like circular like that.
He claims that the killer was a cop named Barry Hydu, who was hired by Jilly to take him out. Apparently, this was tolerated by the Sopranos crew, because Barry was allowed to live until he retired from the force and was no longer useful to them.
Did it on contract. Made a lot of money over the years.
So how come he's still fucking walking?
Because he's been useful. But he's outlived it. As of his cute little ceremony this afternoon.
Tony then gives this information to Christopher and leaves it to him to kill Barry. It's not clear if this story is true or not. When Christopher interrogates Barry, he denies killing Dickie, though as he is about to be shot, he yells out that he's sorry.
On a limo in this car. No problem.
I'm sorry.
Put him
Sorry.
outside.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay, so a lot of people left comments saying that the dialogue that where he's saying I'm sorry is coming from the TV. I don't think that's true. I just actually rewatched this episode fairly recently, and the subtitles say it's coming from him. I would need to go track down whatever episode of, I think it's Magnum PI he's watching. I would need to track that down and kind of like see like for myself if that's actually coming from the episode or not, and I don't care enough to do that. But I don't think it's coming from the TV. I think that cop is saying I'm sorry. Now, again, you could argue that he's just saying whatever he thinks he has to say to try to get Christopher to not kill him. You know, it's possible he's just doing it to survive. But the fact that he's saying he's sorry, the fact that blah blah blah, I think that I kind of got the feeling when I saw this that it was implying that he did kill Dickie's dad. He might have been the one to actually do the hit in The Many Saints, of course, just for a different reason than the explanation that Tony gives here. But it's also not really clear whether Tony knows the truth or not, because if Junior's the one who had Dickie killed, he might have like passed along the story that Tony is now repeating. So I speculated that that it was actually the Sopranos who killed Dickie, just like how Tony later kills Christopher, right? It's kind of like parallel storytelling. So I was right in that regard, but of course Junior being the one to do it and why he did it was definitely came out of left field for the movie, you know.
What are you gonna do?
Now, is this a confession, or is he just saying anything to try and live?
Yeah, exactly what I said.
I'm not sure. Even Christopher admits that it's possible that Tony is lying and just wants Barry dead for his own reasons.
You're being set up. He's lying to you, whoever he is.
They were also setting up this possibility.
What do you mean it wouldn't make any difference?
He wants you dead.
There are definitely some contradictions in the story we've been told about Dickie. If he was as respected as Tony says, why was his killer allowed to go free all these years? He might not have been a made guy, as the deleted dialogue suggests, but the fact that he was considered a loyal soldier should have made his death an outrage for the family. But aside from Tony, no one even mentions Dickie at all in the series.
That's true.
Now, there might be an explanation for this. Christopher mentions that his father was an addict and blames his own addiction as being inherited from his father.
So my dad? You obviously must have knew he had a crutch.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Come on, Tone, huh? Between the coke, the vodka, whatever the fuck else he was squirting up his arm, let's be honest about the great Dickie Moltisanti, my dad, your hero. Wasn't much more than a fucking junkie.
So, okay, this is an interesting bit of dialogue here. So, in The Many Saints, we see the Dickie drinks, like he drinks vodka and stuff. But I don't believe we ever see him doing hard drugs. Okay, so it says we've detected copyrighted audio and video in your stream. Your stream may be temporarily blocked. Are we still live? Can you guys tell me that? Sorry, I got a notification here. Can I get some comments in chat letting me know if we're still live here? Okay, we are. I think, okay, so I think what the issue is here is that I actually have the theme song from The Sopranos running in the background here. This is kind of before I learned to not do stuff like that. What I was saying before was we see in The Many Saints that Dickie, when he's killed, has drugs for Livia. It's like like, antidepressants. And so I think the implication of the Many Saints is that the rumor about him being a drug addict was kind of spawned from him having these drugs for Livia on him. So again, that's an interesting thing they did with the movie, where it's like history's not quite reliable. Like the stories that Christopher heard about his father from other people are based on misconceptions from the movie. I think we're gonna pause it on this one just because I don't want to get the stream taken down. But basically, I continue talking about this. I say that I think the family... I predicted that the family was going to kill Dickie because he was a drug addict. Again, paralleling what Tony did with Christopher. Now, they didn't end up doing that, and I think my version would have probably been a little bit better, but, it was interesting. And then I talked a little bit about the Newark riots, how the show does hint at the riots. They're playing in the background on the news of this episode of I don't know if it was I think it was Down Neck that they show it, and then they talk about it during the HUD scam. So I thought it would have been cool if they actually incorporated history a little bit more, like Anthony Imperiali. The white supremacists, all this kind of stuff. Like, I feel like it could have been a more interesting movie if they incorporated these elements into it. That's pretty much it for this video. I think we hopefully will be good on other videos, because I think it was the audio that was fucking us up on that one. But I also have a way around that. Give me a sec. The next one we're gonna watch is my biggest video. The episode that changed television forever. Now, this is at 2.8 million. It's by far my biggest video yet. This was the second Sopranos video I released. So I did the Dickie one. I got a lot of views and subscribers off of that, and I was like, okay, I gotta keep going. So that's when we started doing this one. Now I'm gonna do this and see if this helps too. So if you guys see what just happened on screen. A bunch of confetti popped up. Yay! Because it's the anniversary. This is just a PNG I found online. And hopefully this will kind of mask the video a little bit more. And hopefully it won't set off any copyright stuff. Hopefully you guys can still kind of make out what's going on behind this. But, we'll just leave that there.
The Sopranos has no shortage of great episodes. Episodes like Whitecaps, Made in America, and who could forget Pine Barrens?
You're not gonna believe this. He killed 16 Czechoslovakians. Guy was an interior decorator. His house looked like shit.
But there's one...
And you guys can see here that I started to kind of get my formatting down for how I intro these videos. I usually started off with a general kind of hook, lead into some quotes from the shows, some clips and stuff like that, and then I kind of set up the premise, which is what I'm going to be talking about in this video. And you can see that kind of formatting style continue on in all of my video essays moving forward.
One episode that stands out above the rest. One episode that changed the course of television history and set us up for the golden age of television we live in today. That episode is College. On first glance, the 5th episode of the first season might not stand out as anything special, especially if you grew up with shows like Dexter, Mad Men, Boardwalk Empire, and Breaking Bad. But without this episode of The Sopranos, characters like Walter White or Dexter Morgan might never have been allowed to exist. So let's take a look at the episode that ushered in the era of the anti-hero. This is College.
Again, some royalty-free music I just threw in here.
The episode opens with Tony taking Meadow on
that like I shouldn't have made the volume cut so dramatic on that one. It sounds kind of weird.
a trip to visit 3 colleges in Maine she's thinking of attending. On the car ride, she abruptly asks if he's in the mafia.
Am I in a what?
Though taken aback, he admits that some of his money comes from illegal activities. Meadow appreciates his honesty. Later, at a gas station, Tony thinks he sees Febby Petrulio, a made guy from New Jersey who became a federal informant. Though Tony tries to follow him, he can't with Meadow in the car, and ends up losing him. He manages to get his license plate though.
The car chase scene with Meadow is stupid. It's very cringy.
And has Christopher run the plates for him. Meanwhile, Carmela is at home recovering from the flu. While AJ is out at a friend's house, she's visited by Father Phil. While they have dinner and wine together, Melfi calls the house to cancel her appointment with Tony. Carmela assumes that Tony is having an affair with her, since he lied about his therapist being a woman. Back in Maine, Tony and Meadow are having dinner. During the meal, she admits to Tony that she was doing drugs before. When he asks her why she would tell him this, she says it was because he was honest with her about the mafia. However, when Tony gets Febby's address from Chris, he leaves Meadow with some college girls at the restaurant so that he can track Febby down. He finds Febby at his house, but can't do anything since his family is with him. However, Febby notices that something is off and begins his own investigation into who's looking for him. He eventually discovers the motel where Tony and Meadow are staying at and waits for them in ambush. Meanwhile, Carmela and Father Phil continue to drink and get close. Being upset about her life with Tony, she and Father Phil do confession, and he offers her communion. As things get
Very
intimate,
sexual
she
scene
gets a
with,
call
like,
from AJ telling her that he's going to be staying at his friend's house, and that they will be alone together all night. Drunk off communion wine, they're about to kiss when Father Phil gets sick and rushes to the bathroom to puke. Tony brings the drunk Meadow back to the hotel. Febby sees them, but is unable to take the shot because of a couple nearby. The next morning, Tony drops Meadow off at the next college and goes off on his own. Febby tries to hire some junkies to kill Tony for him, but they refuse and leave. Febby hears a noise outside and goes to investigate. When he does, Tony ambushes him and wraps a cord around his neck. Though Febby begs for mercy and says that he could have killed Tony the previous night, Tony strangles him to death anyway. When he's done, he sees a flock of ducks flying away. In the car ride back home, Meadow notices a cut on Tony's hand and mud on his shoes. She asks him about it, citing their newfound honesty with each other. However, she can tell that he's lying to her and decides to stop asking questions. Back at home, Carmela tells Tony that Father Phil stayed the night. Though he is indignant at the thought of her spending the night alone with another man, Carmela reveals that she knows about his female therapist, and as the episode ends, Tony is left the one trying to explain.
I love this moment with Tony and Carmela, where she's kind of, oh my god, it's such a, this is gonna sound a little like sexist, but the way that women can argue, like, it's brilliant. Like, it's just brilliant the way that they can, like, trap you with, like, what you think, and, like, because, like, she lets Tony think that, like, oh, okay, he's got the upper hand on me in this situation. He's indignant about the priest or whatever staying the night. And then she, like, immediately reveals that she knows about Melfi, and he's, like, now on the back foot. It's, like, I don't know. It's, like, it's awful when you're in it, but I can just, like, just admire the fact that, like, okay. Yeah, this is a brilliant way that women can kind of trap men when they're arguing. It's great.
From that summary alone, this episode might not seem like anything special. Plot-wise, the episode has almost nothing to do with the overarching story of the season, and features only a fraction of the cast. But the standalone nature of this episode is exactly why it's the favorite of creator David Chase.
For me, the most successful episode of the show is the one called College. The one where he takes his daughter.
Yes.
Okay.
And recognizes a squealer.
To me, that's a film noir in and of itself. That could have been a low-budget movie from the 40s or something like that. It has nothing to do with anything that happened beforehand, and it has nothing to do with anything that happened later. It's two very discrete stories. A gangster takes his daughter to college, has to kill a rat while his wife almost sleeps with a priest. To me, that was the ultimate Soprano episode. And that has nothing to do with anything that came before or after.
It's easy to
I agree with David Chase. This is one of the best episodes of the first season.
see why he preferred standalone episodes like this. It allowed him to focus on the characters and their development more than just the plot. There's a lot of great symbolism in this episode that I don't think they would have had time for if they were busy writing C and D plots for the story. I love the development between Tony and Meadow. For once, he has opened up to her.
Oh, by the way, this is another meme that's kind of popped up in the comments where I said, I said he sees a school of ducks flying away when it's really supposed to be a flock of geese. I think people pointed this out in the comments. I'm actually not seeing them here. Anyway, I get a lot of individual comments about the geese thing. Just like with Dickie being the wife of Joanne.
Honest, and she returns by showing more trust and acceptance of him. However, when he goes back to lying to her, we can see that it's broken their relationship. They would never again be as close as they were throughout the rest of the series. This is symbolized perfectly when Tony sees the school of ducks flying away after he kills Phoebe.
Oh, right
in
there.
the
There
pilot,
was school
Tony
of
has a
ducks. That's
panic
where I saw
attack
it.
when the ducks leave his pool, symbolizing his fear of losing his family.
When the ducks gave birth to those babies, they became a family.
You're right. That's the link. A connection. I'm afraid I'm gonna lose my family. I think I lost the ducks.
Because he chooses to pursue vengeance and the mob code over honesty with his daughter, he loses his relationship with her. This is also symbolized in the Hawthorne quote he sees at the last college, which foreshadows a conflict between his mob life and his home life that Tony would deal with throughout the series. This episode was also well received by critics. Edie Falco won her first Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Drama for her role in this episode. And David Chase and writer James Manos Jr. both won an Emmy for Outstanding Writing. However, there was some pushback against this episode. HBO was originally against Tony murdering the rat. They told David Chase that he'd created one of the most compelling characters in television history, and that he was throwing it all away in one episode.
And then we had, one was about whether Tony should kill the guy in the 5th episode of the first season. The rat up in Maine, or wherever he was. And Chris Albrecht didn't want, he said, you know, you have 4 episodes there, you've created one of the most compelling protagonists in American television, and you're flushing him down the toilet by having him kill that guy.
Eventually, they allowed him to show the murder, but forced him to add a scene that showed Phoebe was dealing drugs, which apparently meant it was okay to kill him. To be fair, this was uncharted waters for a television show. This was one of the first major depictions of violence from a TV protagonist. There had been other shows that had the main character kill people, but not like this. This was brutal. They showed Tony strangling him to death with his bare hands right in front of the camera.
So, another thing people commented about this video was that he didn't kill him with his bare hands, he used a cord. Yes, but he used the cord with his hands. God, some people just love to be so fucking pedantic in the comments. Another thing people did point out was that Oz had a lot of violence in it, like very brutal violence, before The Sopranos, right? Because Oz came out before The Sopranos did. And I will admit that. Oz was really the first HBO show where they started experimenting with this. But you have to factor in that Oz is set in an all-male prison. So it's a little bit more excusable. Like, Sopranos is definitely more mainstream, and to have the violence there was a really groundbreaking moment for television history. And that's why I say that this is the episode that changed television forever.
And there was no justification such as self-defense. The man was not a direct threat to Tony until he started pursuing him. The decision to show such an act, and the fact that audiences accepted...
I fucked up that line that you could hear it too. I slurred my words a little bit there. The decision to show such an act, like, I just fucked it up.
It had a profound effect on television. It cemented the idea that a main character of a show could be morally complicated, even straight up evil in some cases, and still be compelling. This episode would usher in the so-called golden age of television we live in now.
Okay, this is another thing people talk about all the time. In fact, I got a comment about it, like, I think literally today, this morning, where someone was like, I don't think we don't live in the golden age of television anymore. Yes and no. People are like, I don't like any of the shows on television nowadays. Well, I understand that. That's okay. But you also have to factor in that, like, a television age, or an age of anything, is not literally just when one show is on. I'm not talking about when just The Sopranos was on or when Breaking Bad was on. Like, this, we're talking about decades, like multi-decades of television. So when I refer to the golden age, I'm kind of referring from, like, the late 90s to, like, the early 20s. Like, Better Call Saul was going on until last year. So it's not just when The Sopranos was on. It's not just when Breaking Bad was on. I argue we're still in the golden age of television because the time frame that when we're looking at runs a lot bigger than just one single era. You could argue it ended in the mid to late 2010s, which I think is what Kaiwan just posted in the chat right now. But that's what I'm more referring to when I say the golden age of television. Because again, Better Call Saul was still going on at this time here. So, and Better Call Saul is definitely still part of the golden age of television.
An era defined by the anti-hero protagonist. Some of these shows can even be traced directly to The Sopranos. James Manos Jr., who wrote this episode, went on to create Dexter, a show about a literal serial killer.
Co-wrote the episode.
Series writers Matt Weiner and Terry Winter would go on to create Mad Men and Boardwalk Empire respectively. Again, both shows about morally complicated men. Without The Sopranos, these shows couldn't have existed.
If you hadn't been on The Sopranos as a writer working with David, how different do you think?
Oh, Mad Men would have been a piece of shit. I'm pretty sure. Would have been different.
Even shows that can't be traced directly to The Sopranos, such as Breaking Bad, still owe their existence to the zeitgeist the show created for television.
Would Breaking Bad have been made if we didn't have The Sopranos?
I don't think so. I think what David Chase was able to do in creating a character like Tony Soprano was certainly paving the way to allow the space for someone like Walter White to exist. Yeah, it was groundbreaking.
I hope you found this video insightful and entertaining. Everyone knows just what an incredible show The Sopranos was, but as a fan, it's amazing to see just how influential the series was on all of television, and I wanted to share it with all of you. If you liked the video, let me know in the comments down below. It really helps the channel, and be sure to subscribe for more Sopranos content coming soon. Thanks.
Yeah, I had some more music playing, which I probably shouldn't play. But yeah, that was my most successful video to date. As of right now, we're kind of approaching 3 million views, which is awesome. Thank you guys so much for that. Hello, Absurd Existence. Thank you for being here. We watched a little bit of my early kind of classic, old classic films. We touched on The Killers. We touched on Fall of the Roman Empire a little bit. but I kind of think that like most people want to hear me talk about the Sopranos videos more. But you know what? We actually should go back to the Public Enemy. That was another early film I did, and the reason for that is because, well, one, I call it the original gangster movie because it is. It's one of the very first. This and I talk about it in the video, but there's another one that came out like right. It was Scarface, wasn't it? The Howard Hawks version. But actually, this is the first video I had a scene from The Sopranos in. I didn't make these
criminals.
time lapses.
We have an obsession with them. From cowboys to bank robbers, bad guys have become a fundamental part of the American culture.
I have this. This is on my wall right now. Can you guys see that? Right above me. My wife got me that poster. Oh, and I also have the Big Mouth Billy Bass, which I don't know if you guys noticed that behind me, but I posted a shorts about that. I bought one of those on eBay.
Culture. And we've been making movies about them ever since we invented the medium. It should be no surprise then that they've given us some of the most entertaining and iconic films we've ever seen. But from The Godfather to The Sopranos, they all had to start somewhere.
Called out The Sopranos.
The Public Enemy is a 1931 pre-code crime film and has the distinction of arguably being the first real gangster movie ever made. So grab your fedoras and Tommy guns, because we're going to see where the gangster genre got its start. This is The Public Enemy. The movie follows a young Irish...
So, anyway, I talk about the whole movie in here. We don't have to watch the whole thing, but... Where is the Sopranos bit? Probably somewhere around here.
And would go to the movie multiple times a day.
Oh yeah, this is funny right here.
When Tom's girlfriend Kitty is complaining to him, he angrily shoves a grapefruit in her face.
Iconic scene.
It was added by the director William Wellman, who would often get into fights with his wife and fantasize about doing just that. Well, he wasn't the only one, apparently, because the actress's ex-husband supposedly had the scene timed and would go to the movie multiple times a day just to see the grapefruit scene. Apparently, Tony wasn't the only one who found it amusing.
I wish you was a wishing well, so that I could tie a bucket to you and sink you.
Maybe you found someone you like better.
I could go on and on about the little details from this film, and to be honest, I'd probably enjoy that, but I'll leave it on this note. One of the reasons to learn about these old films is to better be able to appreciate the modern ones we enjoy. Whether it's learning small, trivial details to bore your friends with when they're just trying to watch a movie, or appreciating how your favorite film is taking older elements and adapting them for modern use, there's a lot of great things that can be found in the past. As all plays out and evolves in
here's
future
the other Sopranos clip I put in here.
Tony Montana is Tom Powers. So is Henry Hill. Michael Corleone rejects family in the end. Hell, even Tony Soprano suffers from the same personality traits as Tom, which is probably why he loves this movie so much.
Public Enemy. It's a great movie.
For a class, just finished.
Yeah, I put the what's his name? David Chase loves The Public Enemy. He's talked about it multiple times. He put a lot of references to it in The Sopranos. Cagney was modernity. Okay, so the next one I want to watch is the first Soprano log. So that's the pilot. We're gonna watch the first Soprano log and we're gonna watch the last one. Hopefully there's no copyright issues. We'll see.
What is up, Sopranos fans? This is Pure Kino, and this is the start of a new series of videos I'm planning on doing. I want to review each episode of The Sopranos individually, and I plan on doing it more, off the cuff vlog style. And the reason for that is because my usual videos are highly scripted and analytical.
Okay, so this is annoying me right off the bat. God, I cringe when I hear how I was doing the voiceover for these early Soprano logs. I talked about this before, but one of the original idea behind the Soprano logs was the reason I even decided to do them was because the Many Saints had gotten postponed. You guys might remember this. It was originally supposed to come out in March, and I did my first Sopranos video, I think maybe in December or January, right around then. So I was looking forward to the movie coming out, and then it got delayed like 6 to 8 months to October. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that sucks, but this gives me an opportunity. I did the math, and I was like, I have just enough time if I cover one episode every like 3 days, I will have just enough time to cover the entire series right before the movie comes out. And it's like, it'll be a cool thing for the fans to like go through the episodes again, and it'll be a good thing for me. And I set a challenge for myself. I knew it would be difficult. I knew that producing an entire video, one video every 3 days, is a lot. Even for the Soprano logs, which you guys can see are not the most, like, the writing is not huge on these. I'm just essentially talking about the plot, voicing it over, and then the biggest thing is, of course, editing. I spent the entire year of like 2021 at my computer editing. I work a full-time job, and then when I got home, my entire life was dedicated to like just get these videos done, and I had to do them so fucking quick to get them out in time. And it was definitely a labor, but it was a labor of love. Now, anyway, the reason I bring this up was because you'll hear in this Soprano log specifically that you hear ums and uhs a lot. I was not scripting these videos out ahead of time when I first started doing the Soprano logs. I had like a bullet pointed list of all the major plot beats that I wanted to mention, but I didn't write like, here's word for word what I'm going to say. I would just turn on the microphone, have my list in front of me, and just start talking. Whatever thoughts popped up, they popped up. And then I just kind of edited the video around that. The audio was the skeleton. Now, my inspiration behind doing this series was the Nostalgia Critics Avatar vlogs. I don't know if you guys watch any Nostalgia Critic shit. I used to back in the day. And he had this series where he was watching Avatar The Last Airbender for the first time in preparation for his review of the M. Night Shyamalan movie. And he just turned on the camera and just talked about what he thought about each episode, and it was kind of cool to see how his thoughts like evolved over time as he watched the entire series. I would actually do something similar to that with my reactions later on when I did The Wire, Boardwalk Empire, Mad Men, all of that stuff. But anyway, that was my kind of inspiration for this series. I was literally just going to turn on the microphone and just kind of share my thoughts as I rewatched each episode. So there was stuff that I didn't cover. There was stuff that I missed. The voiceover sucks just because the inspiration was that these were going to be very low effort videos that I was going to release in preparation for the movie. It was just extra content while I worked on the bigger video essays. However, as I started doing this and it became apparent that people really liked this series, I was like, okay, you got to start taking it much more seriously. You got to actually put a lot of effort into this. You got to make sure you try not to miss anything. You got to like clean up the voice, edit it, like just make it really professional. So that the Soprano logs evolved over time, but especially in this first one, you're gonna hear that like my voiceover just sucks. It's rambling. It's all over the place. And we're gonna have to leave it there.
And they usually take a long time to make, between 2 weeks to a month, depending on the video. And I just want to get you guys a lot more content.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially
Same
Sopranos
here.
content, given the news that the movie has been delayed again until September of this year. I want to get you guys as much Sopranos content as I can to tide you over while we all wait. And I thought this was a great way to just make a lot more content quickly.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's jump into it. Season 1, Episode 1, the pilot. The first episode that got us started on this Sopranos journey. The episode, revolves around Tony going to therapy for the first time. We're introduced to Melfi, and through Tony's narration, we're introduced to all the characters on the show. Tony suffered a panic attack before the episode takes place. The doctors were not able to figure out a reason why, so they sent him to a therapist to try to see if maybe it's like a psychological reason. We get to explore his character and his life, the things that are bringing him stress. He's got a wife and kids who kind of bust his balls a little bit. He's got an uncle who interferes with his friends. And
so he's like, they kind of bust his balls a little bit. Like it's just off the cuff. It's exactly like this stream right now. I'm just saying whatever is coming into my mind, and not necessarily scripting it out. And like I said, over the course of the series, I started putting more and more preparation into each of these videos.
And is planning on killing some guy in his friend's restaurant. So there's just a lot of things in his life that are bringing him stress. One of the few things that he really enjoys, besides sleeping with women and all the mob stuff that he does, is his love of animals. He has these ducks that have flown into his pool. He's feeding them, caring for them, and eventually they fly away, which triggers the panic attack that we see in the...
Does it weird anyone else out too that he's like, I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking it, but he's like in his underwear and stuff in front of his daughter's like friend? He comes into the house like after he gets into the pool like with just a towel. I don't know, it just sounds like that's kind of weird.
First episode. So we really get a great sense into who this character is. He is a mob guy. Earlier he's beating someone up who owes him money, but he's also got this really sensitive side to him. He loves animals, he loves his family, and he has these really complicated feelings about being in the mafia.
You can see here too, I'm not like following the plot like beat by beat. I'm just kind of like giving an overview of what I thought about the episode as a whole. And as it went on, I tried to structure it more and more of like following the episode beat by beat, because it just kind of gave a natural structure to each episode review.
This episode is very different than the rest of the series. It was filmed about 1 year before the rest of the series got made. It was a test pilot to see if HBO was even interested in it. If they weren't, David Chase was planning on filming another 45 minutes and just releasing it as a movie. And we all know that he loves movies and he loves that standalone style of storytelling. And we could definitely see that in this episode. The whole episode has kind of a Goodfellas vibe to it, with the the narration, Tony's
really strong Goodfellas vibe to the pilot. I actually, like I said before, when I rated every single episode on the tier list, I gave the pilot I think a lower score, like maybe a C or a B, just because it's just so tonally different to everything that came after that, which is to be expected of a pilot. But yeah, I actually think it's one of the weaker episodes of the show,
explaining his life and what's going on with him. I could definitely see Goodfellas as one of the primary influences. That and Scorsese really had an impact on what David Chase was trying to do. Some things are very different in this episode because of that than the rest of the series. The most important thing is Tony is the boss in this episode.
To go out here.
He's referred to as the boss of North Jersey by his uncle. And that is not how it is throughout the rest of the season.
You can hear my hesitation as I'm like trying to find words for my thought. It's like it's just very amateurish. Like these early, I hate these early Soprano logs so much. Like I really think I got better, not just with the Soprano logs, but when I eventually got to the Breaking Bad logs. Like I just think those are much more like well done in terms of editing and stuff.
He's a capo when a series starts, and he works his way up.
I appreciate you guys who like them though. Like Alex Contreras just said he loves the Soprano logs. You listen to him at work, and I do get that. Like for a lot of people, it's just fun to hear someone talk about the Sopranos, and I love doing it. It's just I wish I had just cleaned it up a little bit more. You guys don't need to hear all my ums and uhs as I, did all these videos. I could have edited all that stuff out. I just didn't at first.
Way up to being boss at the end of season 1. There's no mention of Jackie Aprile in this episode, and there's a lot of other little details here and there that get kind of established further. The fact that Silvio doesn't know who Arthur is kind of doesn't make sense since they all grew up together. But they kind of...
We'll talk about Silvio's age another day, because that's a topic of an ongoing debate. There's a lot of evidence for and against that. Yeah, Aaron says you gotta crawl before you walk. You learned a lot from these early vids. I definitely did. And I'm still learning to this day. My videos are not perfect by any means. I still make a lot of mistakes. I think my audio is not great. Even to this day, I'm like, I don't really understand how to make audio sound good. But, we just take it one day at a time.
Establish those details more in the next episode. Which is not unusual. Many shows kind of take a few episodes or even a whole season to get started. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia was kind of the same way. The first season was kind of a mess, and then they figured things out moving forward. There's also some differences with James Gandolfini.
Alex brings up a good point right now too. He says it makes the videos better, IMO, less scripted. I also understand that point of view as well, and I think in my mind I was kind of going for that too. I think actually even towards the end of the Soprano logs, I was still leaving in the occasional and just because I thought it made it sound more conversational. I can get that point of view, but I think I can still get that feeling of being like conversational, less scripted, without a lot of the like you could just hear the hesitation as I was saying some of this stuff. Like, I think that's not really as entertaining. I do get that like some people like it more conversational, less scripted overall, and that's totally fair as well. That's why a lot of people listen to like live like this, right? Like live streams. It's fun to hear someone just talk naturally as well. I watch a lot of people just chatting about stuff,
He gained weight and started taking voice lessons after this episode was made, and he came up with the iconic Tony Soprano accent that we all know and love. So he looks a little bit different, looks very healthy in this episode compared to the rest of the series, and his voice is a little bit more normal. He doesn't have that thick New Jersey accent. There's also a difference in tone in this episode compared to the rest of the series. It borders almost on corniness at times. There's a scene where he sees a guy who owes him money, and he runs him over in a parking lot full of people. It's a little bit ridiculous. I know, they skirt the law throughout the series, and at times you're like that they would totally get caught for that, but this one in particular really stood out to me. There's a crowd of people watching him kick the shit out of this guy. The license plate's in full view. There's just no way they would have gotten away with this, and it's one of the things that makes it hard for me to show people this series. Obviously, when you introduce them to The Sopranos, you have to start with the first episode, but
you just heard too when I was like, you could hear me swallowing my spit as I'm recording the dialogue. It's like there's just a lot of amateur shit in there that I got better at.
There's some tone issues here that kind of make it hard. I have to tell people like, no, this isn't how the rest of the series is. It gets really good after this, but you just kind of have to get through the pilot. There's a lot of great things about the pilot. I think it's really funny. I'll talk about some of the scenes that I thought were really funny. But yeah, there's some tone issues there that I don't think are present throughout the rest of the series. There's some things that get established here, though, that would be referenced later on in the series. This is the first time we hear mention of Varsity Athlete, Uncle Junior, putting Tony down, and that would become the most iconic meme line throughout the series, is the Varsity Athlete bit, which is great to see it here. Gary Cooper is mentioned, and of course that's Tony's kind of masculine idol. He references that here, and he brings it up again.
It's kind of Tony's masculine idol. It's like it's either it is or it isn't. I put a lot of these like qualifiers into I've always done that. Like so I took a writing class one time, and my professor actually was like, "Yeah, you put a lot of qualifiers behind your thing. it's like this. It's kind of this. You know, it's like either it is or it isn't. You know, so just it's good to notice those things and like try to take it out of your speech. But I still to this day use a lot of qualifiers when I talk. I'm sure it's very annoying.
In the Christopher Columbus episode. And then Carmela says to Tony that he's going to go to hell when he dies, when he's going in for his MRI. And of course, Tony would bring that up again in their Whitecaps fight episode, which is one of the
you heard about like you heard me stutter when I said fight.
Best scenes in the entire series. So we do get some things established here that will be important later on in the series. Some things that I noticed are this is one of the only 2 episodes that creator David Chase directed himself. He directed the first episode and he directed the last.
So this is something that I think upon looking back at the Soprano logs, I didn't talk about this enough of who directed which individual episode. I think I honestly, my Breaking Bad logs, I did the same thing. And even as I'm doing these Wire episodes now, I haven't really paid much attention to like who's directing what. I think that would be an interesting analysis to be like, okay, David Chase directed this episode. What are the David Chase, you know, nuances when he's directing compared to when Phil Abraham is directing or when Timothy Van Patten is directing? It's hard for me to really pay attention to that kind of stuff because I'm not a cinematography kind of guy. I didn't go to film school. I don't really know a lot of techniques that go into this art form. So it's a lot easier for me to focus on like the writing and the character because that's something I'm more intimately familiar with compared to, you know, how directors shoot an episode. But I would like to pay more attention to that because I think there was some episodes that were directed by like Michael Imperioli that I didn't even talk about. And I'm like, that's crazy that I missed those details like that. Who directed your favorite episodes? God, that'd be hard. You guys want to pull up a list right now and just look it up? Sopranos episodes. Let me turn off the confetti. We can see the directed by here. Yeah, David Chase directed the pilot. Alan Coulter directed a lot of great episodes. College, of course. I don't recognize Alan Taylor, another very good director. Timothy Van Patten directed a lot of the series. Yeah, Alan Coulter, Timothy Van Patten. Knight in White Satin Armor is one of my favorite episodes. That's a great one. Big Girls Don't Cry, another great one. Timothy did that. Steve Buscemi, of course, famously directed Pine Barrens, everyone loves. But it was a story by, Timothy Van Patten. It was his dream. I gotta say, probably either Alan Coulter or Timothy Van Patten as the best director overall. I don't know who this John Patterson. He directs the finales every time. I actually don't know this guy. Oh, he's a classmate of David Chase's. That's pretty interesting. Yeah, he directed 13 episodes. You'd think there would be more on this guy, but there isn't. Anyway, sorry, we got off on a tangent, but yeah, I didn't pay too much attention to the directors. That was the point I was trying to make.
Last episode, Made in America. So it's kind of cool that he gets to, bookend the series with his, personal touch there. Another thing.
Yeah, David Chase. Sorry, I keep pausing, but someone just commented that David Chase is a really underrated director. Has a lot of Kubrick influences. That's definitely true. He's talked about that in interviews as well.
The thing I noticed was the opening shot shows Tony. We see him in between the legs of a statue of a woman. I think they use this shot again later on in another therapy scene.
They do. Carmela looks through the legs, and I think in the last one of the last episodes of season 6, one of the last therapy episodes, Tony looks through the legs again.
But it stands out to me as very maternal. It's almost like this woman is giving birth to Tony, and given the fact that a lot of the first season revolves around the conflict with his mother, and you know that's kind of why he's in therapy, I definitely think that was intentional, that maternal aspect and that symbolism. Speaking of funny scenes, there's a really funny scene when Tony goes to the restaurant in New York. He goes twice. He goes once with Irina, who's played by a different actress than the normal actress throughout the rest of the series. But he goes back again later on with his wife, and the maitre d' there, you know, says to Tony, "Hey, we haven't seen you in forever. Where you been?" Which is really funny given the fact that he was just there with his mistress. But you can tell that the staff is experienced and they know, you know, don't bring up the girlfriend when the wife is here.
I love that detail. It's a great little bit of like classic Sopranos humor. It's great
here. So props to those guys. And then, another scene that really stood out to me was,
I had to mirror this scene because it was getting copyright claimed.
Junior driving Livia in the car. You know, he's complaining about Tony and complaining about the fact that he, you know, should be the boss of the family. And there's great symbolism here because he's driving like an old man. He's driving slow, hunched over, squinting through his, you know, very large glasses. And there's traffic piling up behind him. I think one of the cars even passes him. It's great symbolism for the fact that, you know, despite what he thinks, he's gotten old and life has kind of passed him by. He's not as relevant. He's slowing things down. So it's great foreshadowing to the conflict that would be between Tony and Junior, and the reason why Junior ultimately does not win that fight.
Yeah, I even put in the text here, there was a fire truck passing, and I can hear it on the headphones right now when I recorded this.
So yeah, that was the first episode of The Sopranos. Very good episode. I love it a lot. And yeah, I hope you guys like this new review style. I plan on doing a lot of these episodes released pretty frequently. So stay tuned for the next episode review coming soon. Thanks.
So yeah, that was my first Soprano log. Now let's kind of compare it to the last.
I know.
Hey, big boy Brian.
Wow. Here we are.
Look at this handsome
last
guy.
Soprano log. When I set this goal for myself at the beginning of this year, it seemed like such a distant target. 86 episodes across 7 months. It seemed almost impossible at times that I would end up hitting that number. And yet here we are. It's been an incredible journey. My channel has grown so much during that time, and it's thanks to all of you. So I guess, really, there's only one thing to say in this situation, and that is...
the quintessential cut to black joke. You get it? Because the finale cuts to black? Isn't that funny, guys? Isn't that unexpected that I put a joke about how the last scene cuts to black at the end? I don't think anyone's ever made a joke about that before.
Alright, you knew I had to make that joke. But seriously, thank you guys so much for watching. It has been so much fun reviewing.
So echoey in that room, too. Ugh. This room is still kind of echoey, too, as I'm sure you guys can hear.
Doing my favorite series about time with you guys. This community is amazing, and I hope you guys have been enjoying the videos so far. There's going to be a lot more great Sopranos content to come, and I hope you're all looking forward to that. Now, I know the question on everyone's mind is probably, when are you going to start the actual review, asshole? But for those of you with a little bit of patience, I wanted to address the second most common question, which is, what am I going to do next? A lot of people have been asking me to review another series, just like I did for The Sopranos, and the two most common suggestions I get are either Breaking Bad or The Wire. Well, I'm happy to say that I'm going to be reviewing both series. Now, I don't want to take up too much time in this video.
The reason I wanted to call that out is because there was a lot of comments basically implying that, like, they thought that once I had finished my Soprano log video, I was just done. Like, once, like, man, like, I'm gonna miss Kino after the Soprano logs are done. And I wanted to be like, guys, you know I'm not like stopping making content, right? Like just because I finished this series doesn't mean I'm not going to continue to make stuff about other shows that I love. So that's why I kind of hammered home in this beginning part that like, hey, I'm not done yet. Where can I get a members only jacket? You can go on their website, membersonly.com, and you can use my discount code from the first episode of season 6, members only. Which should we go watch that little intro bit again at the beginning after this? Maybe we'll check that out because that was the first like live action bit I ever put into one of my videos.
Specifically, so I've linked a video in the description of this one. It's a follow-up where I go through in detail all of my plans for the rest of this year as well as next year. All of my plans for the channel, what types of content I want to do, everything like that. So once you're done with this video, go check that one out. But without further ado, let's get into the review. This is Made in America, the series finale of The Sopranos. Enjoy. As I mentioned before, this is one of only 2 episodes to be directed by David Chase himself. He directed the pilot and he directed this episode. So he really gets to bookend the series and give it his own directorial touch. We open on a shot of Tony that makes him look like he's almost in a casket.
I literally just rewatched this episode last night because I'm doing a rewatch of the entire series, which I'm going to talk about in a later video. But I literally it's funny that I just rewatched this last night.
That's not the only connection to death that we're going to see in this episode. Tony then goes to meet with Agent Harris, and there's this great detail that Harris is arguing with his wife on the phone because he's always working and not at home with her. And this really humanizes him, and it draws a connection with Tony, in that they both have family problems that they're struggling with. Tony then asks Harris if his contact knows where Phil Leotardo is holed up. Tony offers some more information about the Arabs that really doesn't make a difference, but Harris says that he does not know where Phil...
How many times have I rewatched the whole series? Probably like 5, like straight through, probably like 5 times overall, including when I rewatched it for the Soprano logs, you know. But I've gone back and like watched individual episodes like all the time.
Tony then goes to see his family, who are staying at an old house that Carmela has bought to flip. And I noticed that this house is actually on the shore. And that obviously reminds us of the house that they were going to buy on the shore, Whitecaps.
Yeah,
now, Tony wanted that
similar
house to be closer to his family, but in kind of an ironic twist, right now, even though they're on the shore, they're more distanced than ever due to the war that's looming over their family. Meanwhile, Butchie talks with Phil on the...
See, you guys can hear what I'm talking about here, right? Which is, I just, like, it's still the same kind of, like, conversational tone that I'm going for, but, like, I cut out all the ums and uhs, and it's just not as, like, stuttery as it was at the beginning, you know? But, like, Aaron was, I saw Aaron, your comment before about, like, just like how the show evolved over the course, so did my videos, which I think is definitely true.
Phone. Phil is really upset with Butchie.
I had to put this little background thing here because I just kept getting copyright. Like, these scenes in particular just kept getting copyright claimed over and over again. And I think Absurd Existence, if you're still in the chat here, I think it was you who actually told me about how to try to avoid some copyright stuff. Because I think in your videos, right, you had them set in, like, a TV. Like when you played a clip or something, because you did a Sopranos review too, I remember, and you set it into like there was an image of a TV, and when you played the clip was in the TV itself, and that kind of helped stop the copyright detection and stuff like that. So I had to do something a little bit similar here with the static in the background to kind of make it pass. This was a hard one to do. Like, I remember I had to redo it many, many times to get it to finally be okay.
Personally, that Tony isn't dead yet. Butchie suggests that they maybe try making peace, but Phil refuses to do that. After the call, Butchie looks up.
Something I don't like about this is how slow I'm talking. Like, you can hear it's like, then Butchie does this. Like, it's, I don't know. I still fuck up all the time. So
and he sees these wandered from Little Italy into Chinatown. It's a great visual metaphor for the fact that following Phil has led Butchie astray. We also get a little bit of dialogue from this tour that says that at one point Little Italy was this huge neighborhood, but now it's been reduced to just a couple blocks. And again, just like we saw in the pilot episode, one of the constant themes of the series is the fact that the Italian identity and the mafia identity is kind of on the decline, and that's one of the issues that causes Tony's depression. Tony then goes to see Janice to visit with her now that her husband is dead. Janice complains that she receives no gratitude from her family, who are wanting to move out and away from her. And we can see that Janice is becoming just like Livia. And in fact, later on, Janice goes to see Junior to tell him about Bobby's death, and Junior, suffering from dementia, thinks that she's Livia.
She is, Livia too. That's a great bit of dialogue there where he thinks she's Livia, because that's essentially who she's become. Like, it's like pottery. If you guys know that meme.
So again, we're seeing that connection between mother and daughter.
Oh, I literally just talked about it right here too.
Here. However, Janice is just trying to find out where Junior's money is holed up. But unfortunately, he doesn't know where it is. He's lost all memory of that. As Tony is leaving, he gets a call from Agent Harris. And Harris tells him that Phil is somewhere in Oyster Bay, Long Island. They tracked him down to a payphone there. Now, Harris slept with another agent in order to get this info. And we're seeing just how far he'll go for Tony in this circumstance. Tony then calls George Pagliari, a mobster from a different family.
I like to think that Agent Harris was thinking about Tony the entire time he was banging that FBI agent. Like, literally, the second she goes to the bathroom, he's like, okay, fuck, I gotta call Tony. Like, that's why I make that joke that he was gay for Tony, because, like, I don't know. Like, that's literally the first thought after busting his nut was like, all right, gotta call Tony. Okay, Sky Blue Park Bench, you're asking if that was her bushy pussy or her panties in the scene. It was her panties, but I thought the exact same thing as you did. Maybe we can see it right here.
Long Island. They tracked him down to a payphone there.
Let me see if I can pause it.
Now, Harris slept with another agent in order
No, I didn't include that scene. But yeah, like the shadow, it's like the light or whatever is casting shadows on her crotch, so it does make it look like she's got like dark hair down there. But no, there's no way they had her hair sticking out of her panties. That's just not, they wouldn't do that.
To get this info. And we're seeing just how far he'll go for Tony in this circumstance. Tony then calls George Pagliari, a mobster from a different family than the Lupertazis. George arranges a sit-down with Tony, Paulie, Butchie, and little Carmine. Butchie agrees to a truce with the Sopranos. After all, Phil was kind of threatening him. And they agree to make restitution to Janice for Bobby's murder. With peace achieved, Tony and his family go back to their normal routines. Carmela then sees Meadow hanging out with Hunter. Now, this is the first time we've seen her since season 3. Hunter was apparently kicked out of college for partying, but is now on her way to becoming a doctor. And Carmela...
I like that David Chase brought her back. If it's David Chase's daughter, if you guys don't know, but I like that he brought her back. And I also like that she disappeared for like 3 seasons. Like, it didn't bring her into the show, because that's very much like how I am with my high school friends who went off to different colleges, where I went years without seeing them, and then randomly you're both back home in your hometown at the same time or whatever, and you meet up like this. It was very, very accurate, and I like that realistic, exactly.
Is resentful of the fact that she's going to be another independent woman when Carmela is kind of stuck with Tony.
Okay, so I said that Carmela was resentful of Hunter because she's going to be an independent woman, and, like, you know, Carmela has that resentment of like Meadow for basically being able to do what she couldn't. I think I read that wrong because I just rewatched this episode. Like I said, she's disappointed because Meadow's not going to be a doctor, and Hunter is. She's in med school now. So again, I don't think she should be that mad because again, you know, Meadow's going to be a fucking high-powered attorney. Her starting salary was like $170,000 in 2000 and what was this, 2007 maybe, I think, when this episode came out. That's a lot of fucking money. That's like probably over 200 grand adjusted for inflation now. So I don't think she should be that disappointed, but that's why she was mad, because even though she said that she was happy with Meadow's career, she wanted her to be a doctor, you know.
So, and she starts acting very coldly to her after that. The Parisis then come over to the Soprano house to celebrate Meadow and Patrick's engagement. Meadow has decided to join Patrick's criminal law defense firm, and later at dinner with Tony, Meadow says that she decided to become a lawyer after seeing how the feds persecuted Tony. And we can see that Tony is clearly disappointed that Meadow is going to live her life defending guys like him. She's kind of chosen to believe the lies that Tony told their family about being persecuted. When we learned early...
I still am saying, like, kinda. She kinda started to believe, like... Either she did or she didn't, Kino.
Clear that Tony really wanted his daughter to get away from this life.
Meadow Soprano
and wanted her
mob
to become a
lawyer.
doctor and do something
my
good
woke
with her life
spec script
rather than
that I'm trying to
defend
sell to
criminals.
David Chase.
However, we also learned that Carlo's son Jason was arrested on drug charges. And when Carlo disappears, they learn that he's agreed to testify in order to protect his son. Now, Carlo knows a lot of damaging information, and Tony will almost certainly be arrested and indicted because of this testimony. With Carlo gone, Tony offers Paulie the captain position over the Aprio crew. Paulie declines the offer, though, believing that it's cursed, since every captain that's held that crew has either died or disappeared. However, when Tony says that he'll give it to Patsy, Paulie agrees.
So there's an interesting thing about Carlo, which I didn't notice before. I just noticed it when I was doing this rewatch, actually. So you guys remember in the season 4 opening for All Debts Public and Private, when Tony calls the captains in to yell at them because they're not kicking up as much money because of the economy or whatever. The 4 captains he calls are Ralph Cifaretto, Ray Curto, Albert Barisi, and Carlo Gervasi, I think is his last name. Now, Albert, of course, is representing Larry Barisi, who's under house arrest for the entire series. Ralphie was promoted in charge of the Aprio crew in season 3, which we saw. Ray Curto has been a captain since season 1. But then Carlo's there. I think that's maybe one of his first introductions. So the implication must be that he took over the Jimmy Altieri crew. Because the 4 capos at the beginning of the series that Tony is friends with is Larry Barisi, Ray Curto, Jimmy Altieri. I guess the 3 of them, right? Because at that time, Jackie Aprio was still alive, so he was presumably in charge of the Aprio crew. And then there was Junior's crew, but that's when Carlo became captain. I always thought he became captain after Vito was outed for being gay, right? And he gives the construction stuff to Carlo, but actually he was a captain all the way back in season 4. I just noticed that. Again, it's another little thing that you can miss.
To take it. Now, let's talk for a minute about the cat. The guys find this cat at the safe house and decide to bring it back with them to Satriali's afterwards. Now, a lot of people think that this cat is actually Adriana reincarnated again. Adriana was always associated with cats throughout the show. She sings this meow song during the Massive Genius episode. She wears cat prints throughout the show. And when she's killed, she's seen crawling around like a cat. The cat in this episode also stares at Christopher's picture, which seems like something Adriana would do. Now, there's one problem in this theory in the fact that they refer to the cat as a boy. And because of that, some people think that the cat is actually Christopher, but I don't really think that that's true. I mean, why would Christopher be staring at a picture of himself? I mean, maybe he's that vain, but it seems like more likely he would be trying to scratch Tony or Paulie, but the cat is actually pretty passive. And it's also possible that the guys, don't really know how to gender a cat and just assume that it was a boy. So while I'm, not set on this theory personally,
I think the cat is Adriana. Now, people have pointed out in the comments that orange cats are almost always boys. Like, apparently that's like a thing. Like, like 99% of orange cats are male. But there's just so much imagery of Adriana associated with cats. Her cat print that she's wearing literally right now. I can't help but feel that it's her. The fact that she's staring at Christopher. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's a trans cat or something, but or maybe it's nothing. Maybe there is no connection between the cat and Adriana, but they draw so much attention to the fact that the cat is staring at Christopher. I just can't help but think that it's her. And you're right, of course, like presumably the cat can be reborn as a different gender, right? It doesn't matter either way, but it's weird to me that they didn't make it a female cat just to really hammer the point home that it's Adriana. I don't know. It's just like one of those weird details, but I really do think it's her.
I do see a lot of information here to connect it to Adriana. Meanwhile, AJ has decided to join the army. He wants to do something about the terrorists, and he thinks that this is the way to improve life here in America. It's funny too. He says he wants to be Trump's personal pilot, and all of these references get funnier to me over time. But Tony and Carmela,
yeah, the Trump stuff is pretty funny looking back on some of this. Also the Hillary Clinton stuff, the Rudy Giuliani stuff. It's funny to see how the world has changed since The Sopranos came out. Definitely a lot of the politics is still the same today as it was back then. A lot of corruption and stuff, but I don't know. It's completely. A lot of the political discourse has completely changed since the time this came out.
Don't want him to go, and instead they kind of bribe him with this film job working for Little Carmine. They also buy him a new car after his SUV is destroyed in a fire.
I feel so bad for AJ in this scene. Like, he was finally gonna bang Rhiannon, and then whoosh. I'd be like, God damn it, I was so close.
And so in this way, they're able to control him.
Oh, I love Carmine's his company name right here.
And so
Lone Wolves Production. Because it's multiple lone wolves, get it? Some people say that that reflects Carmine's stupidity, that he doesn't understand what a lone wolf is. That would be a clever title for me. Like, I would name my studio Lone Wolves. Like, it's ironic, you get it? Like, I think that's a pretty cool title. Now, the logo itself here is pretty, it's pretty gaudy. But it is a porn company, too, so it kind of makes sense that they'd have a, bikini-clad woman riding a wolf. But I work here. It sounds pretty cool.
In this way, they're able to control him and keep him from going to Afghanistan. Meanwhile, Tony's men find Phil at the gas station. They shoot him in the head, and his wife is there and then runs out of the car to go, attend to him. However, the car is still moving, and the wheel ends up rolling over Phil's head and crushing it. It's this really disgusting wet noise.
Yeah, I had to close my eyes this time because I was like, oh god, it's so fucking gross.
It takes away the last bit of dignity that Phil has when it comes.
Also, I feel so bad for his wife in this scene. Like, imagine you're married to this man all this time, right? He does 20 years in the can away from you. He's finally back home with you. He becomes boss. Like you're thinking, like, okay, now we're in for some good times, you know. And then not only is he shot right in front of her, then she has to witness his head being like squished. Like, I feel bad for this woman. Like, honestly, it's the innocents that always get the worst, you know.
To his death. Now, when Harris hears about Phil's death, he blurts out that we're.
Wait a minute, Aaron. I'm talking to the comments right now. Aaron says, I watched a video that I think you're trying to say posited, or posed the question that Carmine might have been smarter than everyone else and didn't want to be boss, so he played dumb. Are you talking about my video, Aaron, that I did on that very topic? Which we're going to talk about in a little bit here. We're going to talk about the reaction to that video, so stay tuned for that.
We're going to win this thing. This is a reference to Lindley Del Vecchio, who was an FBI agent and a handler of the famous informant Greg Scarpa. Just like Harris, DeVecchio was accused of giving information to the mob and kind of favoring one side over the other.
Right there. That's not her bush. There's no way that's her bush. Sorry, someone was talking about this before, but that's her. That has to be her pin. They can't show vagina, right? I mean, it's HBO. They can, but they don't. They don't show vagina at any point in this. That's not that. That must be just her.
That's
panties.
the reference here. After this, Tony goes to see Junior in the mental home.
No way at all.
Now, this is the first time that they've seen each other since the shooting. Tony goes to him and tells him that if he remembers where his money is, it should go to Bobby's kids, not Janice. But like I said,
they showed big pussy. Bravo. Bravo, Little King Trashmouth. I set myself up with that one.
Junior can't remember where his money is or anything about the mafia. However, he does remember playing catch with Tony. And Tony starts to cry when he realizes that Junior is lost forever. Even though he had all of this resentment for Junior because of the shooting, he's truly realizing now.
I am really sad that we only got one scene between Tony and Junior after the shooting. I get why they did that. I get that it's like Tony, like the relationship between Tony and Junior is one of the most critical parts of the show, and to take that away is part of Tony's kind of downfall. But it is really sad that we got so little Dominic Chianese in the 6th season.
Now that he's lost his family member for good. However, in some ways, Junior is kind of the lucky one in this circumstance. Tony said in the season 1 finale, if you're lucky, in the end you'll remember the good times. And Junior only remembers the good times. He doesn't remember all the horrible stuff he did as a part of the mafia. He only remembers playing catch with Tony. And again, like I said, Junior always loved Tony. He thought of him like a son. And this bit of dialogue here is just reminding us that despite everything, Junior really did love Tony. We now get to the final scene of this.
I've been here. I've been to this freaking diner.
Series. Now, you all know what happens here. It's the most famous.
I sat literally right where Tony's sitting, right there. My butt has been where his butt is. That's awesome. My butt has been where Tony Soprano's butt has been.
It's ending of any TV show. And when I started doing these videos, I told myself I wouldn't do a video on.
Yeah, we went ass to ass.
Just so many explanations on YouTube already. However, since we're here, I'll go ahead and give my reasons why I believe Tony dies. The cut to black represents Tony's
Do we have to go through this? Is this even a matter of debate? Does anyone feel like he did not die at the end? Do we really gotta fight about this? How did it feel going ass to ass with him? It felt great, man. I could feel the warmth from his ass cheeks even after all this time.
Consciousness ended. Now this episode uses the ringing of the bell on the door to signal that we are cutting to Tony's POV. This shot style was also used in Soprano home movies. When Tony hears the bell on the dock, it also cuts to his point of view there. Also in that episode, Bobby says you probably don't even hear it when it happens. This was repeated to us again last episode, and when Jerry Torchiano was killed, Silvio also does not hear the shot. Now, the guy in the members only jacket connects to the first episode of this season. Eugene wore that jacket when he assassinated someone in a restaurant, just like this. Also, Tony was shot in that episode as well. When he passes Tony...
You know, actually, when I went to Holston's and I sat right there, what you actually can't really see on screen is there's a bullet lodged right here in the wood. So basically, where the bullet like went through his head, there's a bullet lodged right here in the wood, even at Holston's to this day. So yeah, pretty much confirmed that he died. They actually killed him in real life too. That's how dedicated they were to the craft.
In the restaurant, we see the house from Mayhem on the wall.
Yeah, I pointed it out before. Like this house picture is not there in Holston's. Also, they changed a lot of the background, so I think that house was intentional.
And like I said in my Coma Dream video, I think that house represents
We're gonna
death
talk
and
about
the
this
afterlife.
too.
The bathroom that he comes out of is also at Tony's 3 o'clock, just like Christopher's dream of hell. Going to the bathroom and getting a gun is also a reference to Godfather when Michael Corleone...
Okay, so a lot of people had problems with what I said here too, where they're like, why would he need to stash a gun in the bathroom? I didn't mean that he literally was going to the bathroom to stash the gun. I was just saying the motif of like going to the bathroom, getting a gun, and coming out and shooting someone in a restaurant is paralleled to The Godfather. The show calls back to the scene many times throughout the
shoots his
series.
father's killers, which incidentally happens to be Tony's favorite scene of all time.
Right here.
Then there's also the case of Meadow, who is not there at the time of the shooting. Many people think that Meadow is Tony's guardian angel. She saves him from being shot in the college episode, and also she takes the FBI's bug from the house during the season 3 episode Mr. Ruggerio's Neighborhood. The fact that she was not there during this
I made a mistake right there. They put it in the house in Mr. Ruggerio's Neighborhood. She takes it in another toothpick.
Final scene leaves Tony vulnerable. And so, for all those reasons, it's clear to me that Tony dies at the end. As for who kills him, we don't know, because Tony will never know. The ending is so tied to his consciousness that we can't know anything that he doesn't know. Now, Butchie is the obvious choice. The peace that they agreed to might have just been a ploy to leave him vulnerable for assassination. It could have been one of Tony's men as well. They were getting pretty sick of him by the end of the show. Now, Paulie looks pretty upset about something after he gets the offer of the April crew. Maybe he either knew what was going to happen or was setting it up. We do know that Paulie contemplated betraying Tony in the past. It's possible it was little Carmine. I have a whole video where I talk about his role and the fact that he might have been pulling the strings on this whole thing. But ultimately, though, it doesn't matter to me. Regardless of what happens, the ending itself is so brilliant. We're still talking about it to this day.
Exactly what
It's
Aaron said in the
memorable.
comments right now. I said that in the video too. We're still talking about it to this day.
It's well thought out, and it completely subverts our expectations. It's also a great contrast to the ending of Season 1. The ending of that episode was so warm, it was this great family moment, but Season 6 has been so cold. AJ also references this episode when he brings up Tony's advice to remember the good time, but Tony himself does not remember this. We're seeing just how far Tony has fallen emotionally. But that really is the episode. I can't believe it, but we're done. What an incredible journey. When we started this series, Tony was a bright-eyed and happy man. We fell in love with his complicated charm. But after season, conflict after conflict, Tony has been left a bitter, lonely, and doomed soul. Never before have we seen character development like this. This really is the greatest television show of all time, and I am so grateful we had the chance to experience it. And after following Tony for 6 seasons, as he gradually destroyed everything he ever loved, there's only one thing left. Where is the motherfucking goddamn orange peel beef? I know I say that.
I wanted to end it on. I wanted to like build up with like this like I'm like talking about something important and I just undercut it with a joke. I like doing that a lot. The only other thing to point out with this was that I actually read every single patron I have, even if you weren't like at the tier, the capo tier where I read out your name, just because I wanted to thank every single person who supported the channel. But you can kind of see my evolution of how I made the Soprano logs. I'm gonna take a real quick break. I need to go use the bathroom. I'm gonna put on this BRB video and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, I had to use the bathroom real quick. It's been a long stream. But we're gonna keep going. I think I'm gonna keep watching more videos. And keep chatting with you guys. Let's take a drink of water here. Did you come back with a gun? Yes, I did. Right here. Bow, bow, bow. Take that, Tony. Pew. Okay, cool. Let's watch the intro a little bit from members only, because someone was asking where they can get a members only jacket.
Or later, she has dinner with.
Oh, wow, look at this. I got a package from my good pal Richie. Okay, so this is the first time I ever did like a live action bit, which we're gonna. I did a whole other live action thing, which we're gonna talk about in a little bit here. But this one I was like, this is not my box. Like I got someone else's. I lived in an apartment at this time. So I just got someone else's like Amazon box that they threw in the recycling bin. But I don't want them to get like their info leaked, so I just scratched out all the names. But I wrote to Kino from Richie. All right, let's take a look at what's in here. Then I taped over the box myself, which you can see here. look at this. We got a bootleg copy of The Many Saints of Newark. I intentionally wrote the title here wrong, because it was supposed to be like a bootleg version, like that they, like in the show they have some of those. Work. Nice. Ooh, some gabagool. I tried to make this wrap and look like how they wrap it all up in the show where Tony eats it out of the fridge. Yum. Oh look, it's a pair of Adriana's panties. How do you know I wanted some of these? I had to go to Target, and I had to buy like women's panties, which I was like, I wondered if they were gonna look at me weird when I was like in the women's section looking for those. Yeah, those are my panties. I wear them every day now. Got them on right now underneath this. What's under here? I wanted like a thong, like kind of, because I wanted to, like, how Adriana dresses. I wanted something like that. Here. Oh my god. It's the jacket! So, yes, I got an actual sponsorship from Members Only. I reached out to them, found their contact info. They were really receptive to the idea. And, of course, if you want to get a jacket like someone else asked before, you can go to their website. And there's a discount code here that you can use as well. People really liked the sponsorship. Let me turn off the confetti. People actually were excited, and this is a perfect example of how how a lot of people hate sponsored content in videos. Well, if you can actually relate it to the audience and actually make it something that they would be interested in, they're pretty open to it. And this is a perfect example of like the ad integration is so perfect for the content of the video. It just makes sense to do it. So that's why I set it up. But anyway, that was the little live action bit here. Next we are going to let's look at the Ray Abruzzo reaction, because I think that was pretty cool. So I, of course, did a video about Little Carmine, which Aaron mentioned before this, talking about whether he was a genius or not. I absolutely hate the audio in this one, so I don't want to listen to it, actually. What happened was a friend of mine actually paid Ray Abruzzo to react to it on Cameo, which is the little service you can use to hire celebrities to record a little message for you. And Ray actually took the time to film a whole little reaction. Like, most of the time when you pay for it, it's like they'll just be like, "Hey, happy birthday," blah blah blah. Okay, talk to you later. Like, just a 30-second little thing. But Ray actually took the time to act in character with the role, which I thought was pretty cool. So, let's watch his reaction video here.
But of all the Ivy Leaguers on the show, the dumbest of them all has to be Little Carmine.
Hey, Daniel. Ray Abruzzo here. I played Little Carmine on The Sopranos. Hey, listen, I gotta tell you something. Kino, certain friend of ours, I don't want to mention any names. Okay, Matt, he reached out to me, did kind of an end run around you, Kino, because he thought that you and I should have a little bit of a sit-down. Now, Danny boy, I don't want to call it a sit-down due to the inclement negative implications, so let's just call this a meeting of minds, shall we? The purpose of which, can you guess? Yeah, I have to give you some credit. You did a nice job pontificating and whatnot about certain aspects and certain incidents that had expired during the course of the run of The Sopranos that you felt the need to talk about and maybe give your opinion about certain things. I was very impressed with quite a bit of it. You seem to have done a lot of research. I have a couple of bones to pick, a couple of, like a sticking post. I agree. Little Carmine didn't always use the best words, but to say that makes him the stupidest. I mean, everybody thinks Tony's the big genius, he's the smart guy. Who's the guy that said, AJ makes a molehill out of everything, or that he had an albacore around his neck. Come on. Every one of them used as many malaprops as Little Carmine. And I also want to add, you did have some insights and inputs, as we like to say, about his awareness of who he is and where he fits in the world, and also his understanding of other people's predicaments. I mean, when he has to sit down with Tony to try to go to see Uncle Phil, he's very sensitive to Tony about Tony's situation with AJ, though, what he's going through. I mean, he's the most sympathetic. Everybody else does a lot of ass kissing with those situations. But Little Carmine is seriously interested and caring about what Tony's going through emotionally. And also at the scene at the golf course, the mellifluous box scene, beautifully written by Terry Winter, I might say. There's a lot of insight in there. You picked up on a lot of it. I will give you that. But I mean, there were subtle things. Like they ordered different things. You noticed that. Philly cheesesteak, seared ahi, mixed greens. He orders an Arnold Palmer iced tea. No, you know what? Make that an Arnold Palmer.
He's got
I always enjoyed these, but it never occurs to me to order one. Why does he do that? Because he realized he's sensitive enough to have noticed the rift, the distance between him and Tony in their lifestyles and everything, and he found common ground, even if it's in a glass of Arnold Palmer. So, you know, Arnold Palmer, very famous golfer, he invented this drink and he called it the Arnold Palmer. All right, that's neither here nor there. But I just want to say, with all the work that you're doing, these videos that you're making, you're on the precipice of an enormous crossroads. I will give you that, Kino. All right, my friend, I did appreciate everything you said. I don't know if I agree with your conclusion, but I think basically you're right. I will say he's not the stupidest of all of them, please. He has more insight about life and his position in the world and how other people view him and what's important and what's not important. So let's face it, he might not use the right words all the time, but he's the smartest of the group. Still living happy. Beautiful Nicole, you know, she's waiting for him with the drink, light dinner if he jumps in the pool naked. What's better than that? All right, Kino, Daniel, you keep up the good work. Most importantly, Kino, enjoy your success.
That's so cool. Oh my god. Yeah, that was awesome. My friend Matt at the he has a podcast, by the way, the Atlanta podcast, which I linked right here in the description. Definitely check him out. He's a great guy. Yeah, he got that for me for Christmas, and man, that was so fucking cool. Like, oh my god, just so fucking awesome. I love this video. So like, you guys have no idea what it means to me that someone from the show, like, legitimately not even just watched the video, but like actually appreciated it. That's so fucking cool. Yeah, he really could have just been like, hey, you know, it's a Little Carmine here. Good job on the video. Talk to you. He could have just been like that, but he really took the time to address the points I'd made in the video. Like, I mean, I gotta imagine his mind, it's kind of cool that someone paid attention to his character that much. But yeah, man, even still, like, what an incredible guy Ray is. Like, seriously fantastic. Yeah, people they love this video. It was so fucking incredible. So thank you, Matt at the Atlanta podcast. Definitely check him out. I've been a guest on there a few times. But he's a fantastic guy as well. Let's move on here to... Have we gotten to the point where we need to talk about El Camino? Do you guys want to talk about El Camino and what happened there? I think we need to discuss that. You guys saw it in the thumbnail, and I want to talk about this because this is my most ambitious project to date. That turned out Some people had some problems with it. I can definitely understand why. I knew this video was going to be, you know, cringe, like I said. I knew when I intended to do something like this, it was going to be... I was going to get some mixed reception. But let's go through it. I'm gonna skip around the review sections because I think it's like, you know, it's whatever. You guys know what my thoughts are about the movie, but we'll talk about the live action segments, most of it. So this is a found footage type video. If you can't tell from the intro here, this is a parody of the Blair Witch Project. That's what I was kind of going for with this video. It came out on October 31st, by the way, Halloween. Part of Breaking Bad-tober. What is up, Breaking Bad fans? Kino here, and I hope you guys have been enjoying Breaking Bad-tober. It has been so much fun going through every single episode of one of my favorite shows of all time with you guys for the second time around. And I can think of no better way to cap off this project than by reviewing the end of the Breaking Bad series, the El Camino movie. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Kino, it's Halloween. Why aren't you doing something scary? Well, little do you know the horror that awaits you in this review. Mwahahaha. I'm kidding, of course, but the movie is bad. Now, I know that's going to piss some of you off to hear me say that. But aside from just providing extra content for Breaking Bad fans, the film just really doesn't have a reason to exist. The end of Breaking Bad already provided a satisfactory conclusion to the series, and as we'll see in this film, didn't really leave a lot of room for something else to happen afterwards. So, as much fun as it is to see all these characters back again, the film just really doesn't have a purpose. But we'll cover all that in detail. For now, let's jump into the review. This is El Camino, a bad movie. Sorry, a Breaking Bad movie. The movie opens with... So, again, I don't really like the movie. I don't think it's that great. We go through the plot, beat by beat, what happens, general summary. And then we jump back to here. Episodes of Breaking Bad he directed, like Face Off. But that's pretty much where the positives end for me. I'm going to get into what I dislike about this film specifically in a little bit. But before I do, there's something I want to get out of the way. I feel like I'm alone in this opinion. From what I can tell, I think the majority of the viewership really like this movie. I don't get it. Are they happy just swallowing anything from the Breaking Bad franchise? Or is there something I'm missing? It sometimes feels like I watched a completely different movie. Or maybe they watched the movie in reverse or something. In fact, you know what? As a joke, why don't we try that? We'll watch the movie backwards and see if we can get a different perspective on the film. Alright, so okay, so you guys might know what this is. This is a parody kind of the Reversos episode of American Dad. If you guys have never seen it, in American Dad, the Seth MacFarlane cartoon series, they have one episode where they watch Breaking Bad in reverse, and there's when you play the episode backwards, there's a hidden message in the audio that leads them on this treasure hunt, and they find Vince Gilligan's corpse in the desert. So I was doing a kind of a parody of that too. Let me move my camera here so you guys can see this. Went ahead and uploaded the movie into my video player here. I've reversed it so that we can watch the movie backwards. And again, I know this is stupid, but the movie is just so bad. I feel like watching it this way can only be an improvement. So I'll go ahead and get this started here. And again, I know this is going to be incomprehensible. Wait, what was that? Did you guys hear that? That doesn't sound like the normal, audio that plays over the credits. Let me play it again. Yeah, that doesn't sound like reverse music. That almost sounds like a scream. I mean, if I put over here, you can hear the normal music, in reverse. That sounds normal. I don't remember hearing this weird audio here before, but then again, I don't think I actually sat through the entire credits. I don't know. Let me take a look at this a little bit deeper. Maybe there's something wrong with my video player. Maybe it's messing up the audio. But I'm gonna take a deeper look into this. I'll be right back. Alright, so I've went ahead and pulled the audio from the credits into Audacity so we can take a deeper look. Now, as you can hear, if I play this normally, like, that's just the music that plays over the credits. Nothing weird there. Let's go ahead and reverse this like I did before. So as you can see here, if I play this, there's that weird, like, screeching sound from before. So it's not just my video player. You know what? Why don't we take a look at this as, like, a spectrogram? Now, what a spectrogram is it's just a way of looking at audio visually. So that might reveal what's going on here. Now, this all looks normal. This is just, again, the music that plays over the credits. But if I zoom in here, what the fuck is this? You guys seeing this? There's some kind of, like, image hidden in the audio here. There's these weird esoteric symbols. And there's a message. It says find Greenbrier. Okay, so what I was going for here when I did this was, again, it was kind of a parody of the whole Reversos episode of American Dad. And it was a parody of like White Noise. If you ever saw that movie, that horror movie back in the day where the guy can, like, hear ghosts in, like, white noise. It was also a parody of, like, this is gonna be very, like, nerdy, but back in the day there was, like, rumors, like, in Pokemon, like, Red and Blue, like the old school, like, Japanese version. There was rumors that, like, in the audio of Lavender Town, which is, like, the graveyard ghost town of the game, there's, like, creepy music that plays. And people were saying that music drove, like, kids to suicide in Japan. And there was a joke where someone, like, it was like a prank where someone on YouTube took the audio and they found, when they put it on a spectrogram like this, they found, like, a ghost like this. This is the ghost, a Pokemon sprite hidden in the audio, and, like, a message like, you're gonna die. So this was supposed to be kind of like a parody of that kind of stuff, and it was meant to be kind of goofy. Like, look, I have like a Satan, like, pentagram here. I've got the Pokemon ghost. I have the spooky, scary skeletons. So it was intentionally supposed to be, like, goofy. Like, I'm trying to make it clear that I'm not, like, even though I'm acting like I'm taking this seriously, it wasn't, like, this was supposed to be stupid. Like, I wanted the intention for it to be stupid. Upon looking back, I think I put too many, like, this was too many references. This was too many parodies of too many parodies happening all at once. Like, I think it just comes off confused. I think that's the biggest problem with the El Camino video, which I'm not bothered by it at all. Like, I'm proud of what I did here. Like, I attempted to do something, but I think like the tone just kind of clashes. Like, I'm trying to do this parody of, like, horror, and then I have these, like, jokes thrown in. It creates tonal issues. So that's the biggest problem, I think, with the El Camino movie. But now, I mean, the El Camino video. mean? Briar was the working title of the film. It was a reference to a garden gnome in one of the scenes that was... That's true. The movie was called Greenbrier. I mean, the working title was. Cut for time. I don't know if I'm going to search online. See if anyone else has figured this out. Again, it might be a well-known Easter egg or something, but... I don't know. I'm just getting a weird feeling looking at this. I gotta go. I'll be back later. Okay, so this is my garage. I don't know if I'm going crazy or something, but just hear me out. I've been doing some digging. I've been pulling newspapers and magazines from Albuquerque, and there appear to be codes embedded in these publications. Messages hidden in plain sight. References to Greenbrier, numbers, ciphers. Maybe it's easier if I just show you what I'm talking about. Forgive the mess. Okay, so to go along with this is now a parody of A Beautiful Mind, and also, I guess, technically a parody of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, the Pepe Sylvia. That itself is a parody of A Beautiful Mind. So really, it's about A Beautiful Mind. The whole the implication I was trying to go for with this thing was that I was going crazy. Like the hidden message in El Camino was driving me insane, and I was starting to kind of like losing, like Lovecrafty and kind of losing my mind, kind of shit like that. Now I actually put a bunch of jokes in here, which I don't think anyone really noticed, but the garden gnome is of course a reference to Greenbrier, the garden gnome. You can see a picture here of Walter and Hal from Malcolm in the Middle being the same person. This little thing right here, Tesla was robbed. This is a reference to House MD. This was written on the whiteboard in one of the episodes of House MD. I love that show, so I just put this in here. I put a picture of Skylar, and it says "fucked Ted" on there, just as funniness. And I wrote a bunch of nonsense. I put a bunch of like strings connecting the dots and shit, because I wanted it to seem like I was losing my mind, like the guy in A Beautiful Mind. I haven't slept in a few days here, but as you can clearly see, it's all laid out here, clear as day. A trail of clues, all for me. And all the clues lead to one thing. By the way, do you see this picture of this dog right here? I put Edward. Edward? Clues lead to one thing. Some of you might get what that means. These GPS coordinates. Coordinates that lead to New Mexico. Now, I realize that this might look a little bit crazy, but I really feel like I'm onto something here, guys. I don't know who or what laid this all out, or what it all means, but I do know where it's leading me. To Hajli. Now, you guys will remember from my episode review that the coordinates that Walt gave Jack do not actually go to Hajli. They actually lead to the Albuquerque Studios lot, where they filmed Breaking Bad and even the El Camino movie. But these are the actual GPS coordinates. This is where Walt and Jesse actually cooked for the first time, and where he buried his money. This is where Hank and Gomez are buried. And this is what the movie wanted me to find. So, again, I'm kind of like... It's supposed to be like I'm losing my grip on reality. I'm starting to think that the show is real. It's... Again, I thought it was funny at the time, but I think it's just kind of confused. Like, it just clashes with the other stuff that's going on. It's just too much at once. So, really, there's nothing else to do except to actually go to New Mexico and figure out what all this means. Hey everyone, Kino here. So, I'm headed down to New Mexico.
I know these clues mean something, and I need to understand why.
We're out of the room.
So, I got my friend Justin here to drive me. Say hi to the viewers, Justin.
Hey, internet people.
It's my friend Justin.
Sure you're alright, man?
Yeah, of course. I'm fine.
But did you really need to wear that hat?
Of course. This is a Breaking Bad video. I promised my viewers I'd always be wearing a hat during Breaking Bad videos. Sorry about that. Some people have no sense. Anyway, we've got about a 14-hour drive if we don't stop.
Wait, what? No stop?
Of course not. We've got a tight schedule to keep. We've got to get there before October 31st.
Why?
I don't know. I have a bad feeling.
Again, I'm trying to imply that like something horrible is gonna happen, but it's immediately undercut by the joke I'm about to make next.
Well, what if I gotta take a piss?
Oh yeah, that reminds me.
It's a pee joke, get it?
Anyway, while we're driving, I might as well continue my review. The biggest issue for me the film has...
So then the premise is I'm reviewing the movie as we're driving to New Mexico. Again, I've outlined the problems, and I know the acting is kind of shitty. Like, I'm not a great actor, and my friend Justin is also definitely not a great actor. Like, I love the guy. He did me a big solid by helping me with the project, but he's not an actor by any means. So I know our performances are very cringy, but we just have to deal with it. Anyway, review. Then we finally get to New... Okay. So, some people were mad about what I said right here. This is supposed to be a joke. Let me play it.
To get over his PTSD or anything. It was essentially a series of events set up in order to have a bunch of cameos from the Breaking Bad cast. And, if you ask me, making a movie with your friends just for fun is a terrible idea. And anyone who does that should be ashamed of themselves.
People were mad about what I just said right there. It's a joke. It's making fun of the fact that that's what I'm doing right now with my friend.
Well, we've made it. We're finally here in New Mexico.
Yeah, it's clearly a joke, absurd, but some people didn't take it that way. So, by the way, this is not New Mexico. I don't know if it fooled anyone into thinking we were, but we're in Nevada. I live in California, so Nevada's just right across, the next state over.
Do I really have to be wearing this jacket?
Of course. Everyone wears large coats and hoodies in the desert. Duh.
So I was making fun of the fact that in Breaking Bad, even though they're in like a hot desert, Jesse's always wearing like hoodies and stuff because it actually does get cold in the desert. Luckily, it wasn't actually so hot. We filmed this in like early spring, so it wasn't so hot where he couldn't wear this. But I wanted him to be wearing a big puffy jacket like Jesse always wears. That's why I made him wear it.
Anyway, this is about as far as we can go in the van. We're gonna have to walk the rest of the way on foot.
Did you at least carry the bag?
No, I need to focus on documenting this historic occasion. It's why I've got you wearing the GoPro on your head.
What was in here anyways?
Supplies we definitely need. Now, if there's no further questions, let's get moving. Are you ready, Jesse?
What'd you just say?
I said, are you ready, Justin?
Sure.
All right. By the way, this is full of piss now, as you can see. It's another pee joke. It's not actually urine, don't worry. We mixed Gatorade with some like lemonade to get the color right, and that's supposed to be we peed in there.
Let's get going.
Okay, so in addition to all the other fucking little jokes and references I'm throwing in here all at once, I'm also putting on this persona that like I'm full of myself because I'm a YouTuber. I have like a joke about that later. Like I'm a big deal. I'm a celebrity. So that's why I'm kind of treating Justin like shit during this whole thing. Again, it's probably too much to add that in when I'm already trying to be doing a parody of something else to throw that joke on top of it too. But again, hindsight's 2020. Like I'm recording myself on my little camera right here, like doing like a selfie because I'm arrogant and full of myself because I'm a YouTuber. You get it? Yeah, little sign in the video. I do actually like the way this turned out with the fast forward, like our little pitter patter of our shoes walking. I thought that was this sound is kind of funny. I like this too because I like how the crossfade kind of implies that we've been walking for a while. We didn't walk too far out into the desert. I just wanted to make it look like we had gone really far.
It's really hot out. We getting close?
According to my GPS, it should be right over here. This is it. The spot with...
It's a giant X on the spot. I thought that was kind of funny too. Again, the humor clashes with the supposedly horror elements that are supposed to be happening, so I learned my lesson.
Where the clues led me to.
Now what do we do?
We dig. Well, you dig.
What do I have to dig?
I'm a YouTuber. That means I'm basically a celebrity.
Yeah, I get it. I'm full of myself because I'm a YouTuber.
While he's digging, we can talk more about El Camino.
So then we get into, then I do another little review here. Actually, I want to play this review part because I thought it was kind of interesting.
This time I'm talking about the car. At the end of Breaking Bad, Jesse escaped Jack's compound in Todd's 1978 Chevy El Camino. He has it with him for the first act of the film, before ultimately leaving it with Skinny Pete and taking off in Badger's Pontiac Fiero. The car is deeply symbolic for Jesse. It's a symbol of his overcoming of Todd, and a token of victory when he escapes in it. The car also features stripes very similar to Drew Sharp's helmet, and the fact that Jesse took it from Todd is almost like avenging the boy. So, if the car is that symbolic, and the name of the movie is El Camino, why get rid of it so early in the film? And don't tell me he had to do it because of the tracking system. If the writers didn't include that, would anyone besides nitpicking reviewers like me complain? He could have easily changed the plates and roamed around in it throughout the movie. It might have been a little bit of a stretch for him to have taken it with him to Alaska, but there were bigger contrivances in Breaking Bad, and it would have connected the end of the film to the end of the show. And yes, I know that El Camino doesn't just refer to the car. It's Spanish for the road or the path, and can also refer to Jesse's journey and road to salvation. But again, if you're going to name the movie after the very recognizable car, it probably should have been featured much more prominently. We might as well have named the movie Looking for Alaska.
I like that joke I did right there. Let me turn the kid video off again. Because I think that's a kind of an astute observation I made there. Like, if you're going to name the movie El Camino, why is the car not in the movie for very long? And again, like I said, I understand that El Camino refers to, like, the road, and it's, like, Jesse's journey to salvation, but he really should have kept the car throughout the entire movie if we're going to name it El Camino. I thought that was actually a pretty good observation I made. Thank you, David Cameron, for your nice words. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you watching the videos. And yeah, thank you, Aaron. I do plan on doing more like live action like bits. It's never going to be the main focus of the channel, but I would like to have another chance to do another like an El Camino type video like this, but just learning the lessons I learned from the mistakes we made this time. Another big mistake that I made is I am so fucking lucky that the audio came out the way it, like, even that you're even able to listen to the audio is a miracle. I was not testing it, and when I got back home and I listened to it, I was like, oh shit, like you can hear the wind all the time. Like the volume was very low because I had an external microphone plugged in that wasn't working, and just barely I was able to raise the audio enough so you could hear it. It was pretty difficult. So yeah, I got very lucky with the audio that you could even hear it. It could have very well turned out like completely unintelligible.
Come on, Jussie. We don't have all day.
You know, this isn't as easy as it looks.
Come on.
Oh, by the way, I forgot to call this out earlier. There was a bit when I was talking to Justin, I called him Jesse. Again, because I'm supposed to be losing my mind. But anyway. Oh. Did I turn on subtitles?
Come on, just apply yourself.
Why this mother... God, I hit something.
Oh my God. You guys, this is it. The secret of El Camino. This is it. I found it. I found it and I did it all myself.
Congratulations.
Yeah, again, I'm full of myself because I'm a YouTuber. It's a dumb joke to keep hammering in, you know.
Here, Justin, film me uncovering the truth. This is it. This is where we finally find out what it all means. Here we...
What? What is it?
It's...
What? Oh my God, what is that?
It's...
Vince Gilligan, creator of Breaking Bad.
So I find Vince Gilligan's skull buried in the desert. Again, it's a reference to the Reversos episode of American Dad. I'm pretty proud of the skull, by the way, which I have actually still here on my shelf. I'm pretty proud of how I made him look, like with the glasses and his like mustache and goatee combo. I thought it looked kind of like him. I thought it was cute. Oh, thank you, Absurd. Again, it just, yeah, like I said, it's just a lot going on in these things that you as the viewer now have to kind of unparse. Like, if I was smarter, you know what I could have done? I could have actually shown that American Dad bit at the beginning. Like, maybe I'm watching it for some reason, and then you would have context for what's going on, like the joke here. Like, I think most people, when they're like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, why did he find Vince Gilligan's skull in the desert? It's just a matter, I think, of setting stuff up properly. Oh, and by the way, I ripped Vince Gilligan's audio from interviews. I listened to like 10 hours of Vince Gilligan interviews to find the little bits that I needed.
Vince Gilligan?
Yeah.
You're dead?
Oh, hey birds. The reason there's a hole in the back is because that's a fish tank prop. It's supposed to be for a fish to swim. It's the only skull I could find. I looked for a skull and I couldn't find any, so I found one at a fish store.
Technically dead.
Oh my God. One of the greatest showrunners of all time is dead. Wait, if you're dead, how are you talking to me?
Satan.
Satan?
Yeah.
You sold your soul to the devil?
He's a sweet guy.
Oh, no, 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 no.
I thought that was kind of cute the way I layered the audio in like that, and like I was talking to him. Like I thought it turned out decent.
This can't be happening.
Dude, who are you talking to?
Vince Gilligan, creator of Breaking Bad.
Are you?
I should have practiced that line more because I didn't line up. I wanted us to say it at the exact same time. I thought it would have been funny.
Out of your mind? That's a skull. Put that back where you found it, and we got to get out of here.
Hey, everybody.
What?
He dies here.
What?
Come on.
By the way, another thing that would have been good, which I got advice from John Graham, the guy who created RB and the Chief. He's a friend of mine, and I showed him this video before it was done, and he gave me some advice where he's like, "Hey, I get what you're doing, but you should at the beginning maybe have like a flash forward of what's going to happen in the desert, so it doesn't come completely out of nowhere." And I didn't listen to him, but I should have. It was good advice.
Where is it?
What?
The van, it was right here.
Maybe we parked it somewhere else.
No, I'm positive it was right here.
Where is it then?
No. Think somebody stole it?
Who? We're way out in the middle of nowhere.
Well, what do we do now?
So we like the joke is now that we're like we're stuck in the middle of the desert like overnight. We actually filmed this. We didn't film this in the desert because I was scared of like if we waited until dark and we got stuck out there, we would have been really stuck. So we filmed this in my backyard later, and we had a little fire going, and I like the way the light reflects. I thought this scene actually turned out pretty good.
Hey everyone, Kino here. It's been about 5 hours since we've been stuck in the desert. We have no food and very little water. We managed to get a small fire going, but there's no cell phone reception either. And it's...
Oh, by the way, look what I'm wearing. I'm wearing the jacket that I made Justin wear. So like when it was hot in the daytime in the middle of the desert, I was making him wear it, but now that it's cold, I'm wearing it. Like I took it like because I'm so selfish. Again, that was the joke. Yeah.
It's too far to walk back to civilization. It's kind of like that episode of that one show. Oh, what's it called? The one where the main character sells drugs to provide for their family. Oh yeah, Weeds. It's like that show Weeds.
The joke was that I'm thinking of the episode 4 Days Out from Breaking Bad, but I'm going crazy, so I'm mixing up the shows.
Right, Jesse?
And I will say that Justin's acting got better in this scene because we filmed it later. I thought he did a really good job in this scene too. And like he's like shivering cold because it's nighttime in the desert.
You just called me Jesse again. Turn that off, dude. We have more important things. This is serious. We could die out here.
Just like the skull said.
What did you just say?
Nothing. Sorry, I think we're going a little bit crazy out here. We just need to do something to keep our minds off the situation. Hey, why don't we talk about El Camino some more?
No, I don't want to talk about El Camino.
I like the meta thing that I'm going on and on about El Camino throughout this entire project.
We have to come up with a plan, man. We gotta survive.
Justin forgot his line here for a second, and you can see him like. Let me show you this again. This is like, I no one cares about this, but I really like it.
Important things. This is serious. We could die out here.
Just like the skull said.
What did you just say?
Nothing. Sorry, I think we're going a little bit crazy out here. We just need to do something to keep our minds off the situation. Hey, why don't we talk about El Camino some more?
No, I don't want to talk about El Camino.
Like right here, you can see he forgot his line for a second, but he just I gave him some advice where when we were filming in the desert and he forgot his line, he would just cut the scene. He would just be like, "All right, let's take it from the beginning and start again." And that was very difficult because it meant we were out there for a lot longer than I wanted to be. But when we came here, I gave him some advice where I was like, "Hey, if you forget your line, just keep going. Just lean into it. Just go for it." And you can see him for a second kind of forget it, but he kind of makes it look like he's just like so frustrated. He's struggling to find the words, and then he finds it, and it keeps going. And I actually really like how it turned out.
We have to come up with a plan.
Right there. That's what
survive.
happens.
What about a robot?
Again, a reference to 4 Days Out.
I can't be around you right now, man. I'm going for a walk.
Don't listen to him. We do need to talk about the movie some more. Isn't that right, Vince Gilligan?
Yeah.
I look crazy in this part. I like this shot right here. I thought it was kind of cute.
One of the reasons the film is so disappointing is the fact that it's following such a great series.
Okay, here's another. I'm setting up in this part here. I'm setting up another joke, which will be in the final part of the video here. Let's just play it. I'll talk about it.
Breaking Bad was such a tightly paced and exciting show, so to have this abomination essentially be the end of the series is incredibly disappointing. One of the problems that the film was always going to have was the fact that it came out many years after the series ended. By that time, we were satisfied with the ending we got, and it all moved on. There was no reason to pull us back into this world unless you had a story really worth telling. This isn't the only franchise to suffer a disappointing sequel movie. Deadwood was infamously cancelled and left on a cliffhanger. They tied it up many years later with the Deadwood movie, but by that point the actors were basically decrepit, and it had been so long that no one cared about the conflict anymore. And of course, there's The Sopranos. Now, there's an urban legend that the greatest television series of all time had an incredibly disappointing movie that barely tied into The Sopranos narrative at all. A movie so bad, it almost destroyed the franchise entirely. But that's just a myth, of course. Like ghosts. Everyone knows The Sopranos never had a movie. That's just a scary story told around a campfire. I mean, could you imagine the horror if something like that were real?
Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm trying to set up a bit which is going to happen at the very end of the video where the bad movies to these shows, like the Deadwood movie, which I also don't like, and then The Many Saints and then El Camino, are haunting me like ghosts. Again, kind of going along with the horror Blair Witch Project vibe I'm going for. So that's what I'm setting up here, was that there's no such thing as the Many Saints of Newark. It's just an urban legend, and then it gets me at the end.
El Camino is bad. It's not good. It's bad.
What do you think you've been walking out here for?
I don't know. But however long it's been, it's probably less time than El Camino. That movie's runtime is way too long, and it leaves the movie feeling drawn out and...
Alright, shut up. I don't want to hear you ramble anymore about El Camino. I'm dying here. Did you even bring any food or water? Is there anything in here?
No.
So you can hear like the wind is super. I had to turn up the audio so you could hear Justin, but it made the wind way too loud.
Just essential items we need.
What are you talking about? What is this?
The complete Breaking Bad box set.
Are you out of your mind? You mean to be telling me I've been carrying a heavy-ass bag filled with DVDs?
Yeah, I told you, essential items.
Ah!
Justin, don't worry. I've got The Sopranos in there as well.
You're insane. You've completely lost your mind. You drugged me out to the middle of the desert, all because of some film you watched in reverse.
Yeah, Justin's acting's not that great in this scene.
We're gonna die, and you can't stop rambling about how bad El Camino is. It's not even that bad of a movie.
What?
It's a good movie. It's great.
So you'll notice here that I'm cutting between me and him. That wasn't intentional. I wanted this to be one shot because this is supposed to be found footage. But Justin could not get through this entire monologue that I gave him here in one take. So I had to cut there and let him like read the script so he could do the next part. It was hard.
Great to see Jesse get the happy ending he deserves after everything he went through in the show. Plus, we get to say goodbye to all of our favorite characters. And Bryan Cranston even has a cameo in it. It's fun. What more could you want? Whoa. Where'd you get the gun?
Okay, so this is not a real gun. Don't freak out. This is a little BB gun. I spray painted it silver to make it look real. Oh my god, one thing I'm so pissed at myself for was this is the second take. In the first take, I pull back the little the hammer. And again, it's a fake gun, so it doesn't really matter, but the hammer's already pulled back in this, and I wish you would have seen me pull it back, cuz I just think it would have been cooler visually, but whatever.
Gun.
It was in the box with the skull. I think this is what it was all for. Why I found those clues. I need to destroy any remaining support this film has, starting with you.
So you mean to tell me that you're gonna kill me all over my opinions on a movie?
Okay, now here's another thing. The wind really picked up during this part, and you could not hear Justin on my camera. It just wouldn't work. Luckily, he was recording on his GoPro right here, so I was able to pull the audio and try to match it here, but it sounds so fucking, it sounds like it's from a different take. It's so stupid. If he was not recording on his GoPro, this scene would not have come to fruition because I couldn't make the audio work. Got so fucking lucky.
If you're not with me, then you're my enemy.
A reference to Revenge of the Sith.
Don't.
For Breaking Bad.
Please.
For The Sopranos.
Kino.
And for all the shows that deserve better.
No!
Obviously, I wasn't going to actually shoot him, so he just cut there. I think my acting in this part was decent. I thought it was kind of okay.
Hey everyone, Kino here. Justin's gone. He had to go. I'm alone now. I've always been alone. No, wait. I'm not alone. I've got the only friend I'll ever need. Vince Gilligan. Isn't that right, Vince?
He's dead.
No, he just went away. To a place where your film can never hurt him again.
You know, what the hell? Maybe he didn't die.
I don't know how, but somehow I'll make it out of this desert. I'll get back home and make sure that no one ever watches that abomination again. I just need a way out of this desert. Oh my god. Look! It's the van! We did it! Vince! We're saved!
No!
Shut up, Vince. You made El Camino. I don't need to listen to you. We did it, guys! I'm saved! I'm saved!
I was wearing underwear the whole time. Because I'm supposed to look like Walter White in the pilot episode of Breaking Bad. That's why I have the green shirt on. And I'm in, like, tidy whities. This is a creepy shot of the skull with the wind.
I don't know how the van got back here, but I'm not complaining. I'm saved. Just gotta get out of here. Okay. Keys. No. Where did he leave the keys? Somewhere around here. Where did Jesse leave them? Oh, of course. The sun visor. I'm saved. Ah! No. Yeah, no. Ah! Too spooky. I gotta get out of here. Gotta. Oh no. No, you're not real. You're just a myth. No!
Justin had a drone so we could get a shot like this. And that's the end of the El Camino video. So we were originally we were going to have the Many Saints of Newark dangling, like, you're supposed to see the string. It's supposed to be kind of like cheesy, but we were going to have it dangling on a stick. Like Justin was going to be on the roof of the van with a stick, and it was supposed to be on string dangling. But with the wind, it just kept spinning the DVD, and it was like it didn't look right. So we ended up just attaching it to the roof. So when I go into the seat, Justin, who's hiding behind the van, comes in, puts the thing up there, and then ducks away, and then that's how it's like floating there when I turn around. So yeah, that is my little El Camino movie that I made. Again, I know it was extremely fucking cringe. Funny thing, El Camino probably doesn't have a DVD release. Probably not. I made these all myself. I printed out the covers and I stuck them in fake DVD covers. In plastic DVDs. So I made these all myself. I didn't actually buy The Many Saints of Newark on DVD for this. But yeah, it was supposed to be like, oh, the ghost of The Many Saints of Newark is haunting me. Oh. Again, cringy, but that's what it is. I don't think, Kino has the best acting skill I've ever seen in my life. Deserving of 14 Academy Awards, this was the best short film I've ever seen. People left comments. Even Absurd Existence left a comment. This certainly was a video. Well done. Thank you, Absurd, if you're still here. But yeah, that is that is the video. I do plan on doing some more stuff like this in the future. Probably, hopefully, better than this. But yeah, I'm gonna try to take the lessons I learned from this and just make a more cohesive experience, if that makes sense. Well, that is pretty much all the videos I really wanted to go over. I know I didn't really go over the Coma Dream video, which I have in the thumbnail, but it's okay. Before I go, does anyone have any last stuff that they would really, really like me to talk about? Any of my old videos, you know. Yeah, Soprano logs are pretty much Soprano logs. There's not a lot to them. But any of my video essays, anything like that. A question before you leave. What are your thoughts on Dominic Chianese in Boardwalk Empire? Pretty good. I think he's a great actor, of course. I mean, he's only in a few episodes. I kind of wish he was around more. He plays Leander, I think his name is, who is... I think he was an associate of the Commodore. And then he ends up betraying... the mother in that series. So any word on Better Call Saul? I will be doing a video on Better Call Saul. I probably won't be breaking down the entire series episode by episode. I'm sorry for those who really love that style, but I think I'm probably done with those type of videos. I got it out of my system when it came to the Breaking Bad logs, and you know, I'm more into the idea of like long form video analysis. So I'll probably do like an hour plus long video covering Better Call Saul. But yeah, I don't necessarily want to break it down episode by episode. I think there's more opportunities for interesting analysis when I'm looking at the whole picture rather than looking at it as like individual parts. I think that style is limiting. I felt very limited when I was doing the Breaking Bad logs, where I don't feel like I was able to really talk about the series in its entirety. Yeah, Uncle Jim's got a long mustache in Boardwalk Empire. you still need to watch Better Call Saul. It's a good show. You should watch it. Well, I think that's probably going to be it then, guys. We've been going for 3 hours here, which is pretty... I think that's like the longest stream I've ever done. But there'll be some more Sopranos videos coming out soon. More Wire videos coming out. I'm almost done with The Wire, so you have the final video to look forward to eventually here. But, yeah, for now, thank you guys for being a part of this. It was interesting to go back and look at my old content again and, you know, share my thoughts on it. And I'm glad you guys were interested in hearing my bullshit. And yeah, thank you all so much for supporting the channel. Like I said, it's been 3 years since I started doing this. Hopefully, you know, 100 more. So I don't plan on stopping making content anytime soon. I hope you all will continue to be a part of the journey. And definitely check out the other content creators I mentioned in this. You know, check out Matt at the Atlanta Podcast. I think he's great. Check out Absurd Existence for some really, really well done hip hop, rap / music videos in general. Definitely check them out. Check out John Graham, RB and the Chief creator. He's amazing. Great friend of mine, does a lot of great work. So thank you all, and I will talk to you again soon.